Chapter 363. Unscrupulous. Oomph. A mid-primal core warrior dares to be so arrogant. Ho Qingshun seemed to have anticipated Gue Air's sudden attack. He suddenly turned around, clenched his right hand into a fist, and collided with Gue Air's fist. Bang! When the two fists collided, Ho Qingshun and Gue Air both took a few steps back. Ho Qingshun took 3 steps back, while Gue Air took 2.5 steps back. Gue Air had gained the upper hand with this one blow. Old man, who told you that a mid-primal core warrior can't be arrogant? Gue Air raised an eyebrow and laughed. Today, a mid-primal core warrior will not only be arrogant, but he will also kill you. Gue Air's lips curled up as he waved his hands. Buzz! As Gue Air's hands moved, a strong suction force appeared, and suddenly all the Yuan Qi in the room flew towards him. Seeing so much Yuan Qi flying towards him, Gue Air waved his left sleeve, and suddenly a green gas rushed out and merged with the Yuan Qi in front of him. Exploding corpse palm. As Gue Air growled, a palm imbued with powerful Yuan Qi and dark green gas separated from his hand and blasted towards Ho Qingshun. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The powerful palm flew through the air, creating a sizzling sound as it rubbed against the air. Moreover, as the palm neared Ho Qingshun, there was even a low muffled sound. Child's play. Faced with such a powerful palm, Ho Qingshun's expression did not change, and he also sent out a palm. Boom! The two palms collided, but what Ho Qingshun expected did not happen. Gue Air's palm turned into nothingness and dissipated into the air. What's going on? The sudden change made Ho Qingshun feel a little confused. Although he had said that Gue Air's palm was child's play, he knew in his heart that Gue Air's palm was extremely powerful. If he had not advanced to the early yin-yang stage, he would not have been confident that he could withstand this palm. Oh no! After a brief moment of confusion, Ho Qingshun's expression changed, and he could not help but retreat. This was because he saw the space in front of him wriggle, and then a palm appeared. This palm print was exactly the same as the one that Gue Air had just displayed. There was not the slightest difference. Bang! 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 Even though he retreated at full speed, Ho Qingshun still couldn't escape the palm print's pursuit. When he retreated to the edge of the room, the palm print caught up with him and ruthlessly struck his chest. Poochie! Ho Qingshun felt a sweet taste in his throat when the palm imprint struck his chest, and he spurted a mouthful of blood. Yoop! Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ho Qingshun was just about to speak when he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face turned slightly pale. Old man, don't think that you're arrogant just because you're a yin-yang realm martial artist. Let me tell you, there's always someone better than you in this world. Gue Air shrugged and said, Forget it. I won't waste my breath with you. I'll give you 2 choices now. First, you kill yourself or I kill you. Gue Air paused for a moment before continuing. Second, submit to me and become my slave. You want me, a yin-yang realm martial artist, to be your slave? Ho Qingshun was furious. Old fart. It's your honor to be Master Gue's slave. Zhangze said coldly. Perhaps you don't know who this is. To tell you the truth, he's the peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Palace, Gue Air. Gueo. Ho Qingshun hesitated as if he didn't hear it clearly. That's right, son of a tortoise. Tui, it's Gue Air, not son of a tortoise. Zhangze, leave first. Help me surround the city lord's mansion. Gue Air waved his hand and said, Without my permission, no one can enter. Yes, yes, I promise not to let a fly in. Zhangze hurriedly left the room. After Zhangze left, Gue Air said to Ho Qingshun, What's your decision? Do you choose the first or the second? What if I don't choose either? Ho Qingshun said in a deep voice. If you don't choose, you'll be challenging my authority. Gue Air smiled faintly and said, If you don't choose, then I'll choose for you. The second one. Trying to control me? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Ho Qingshun said angrily, Even if I self-destruct, I won't let you control me. In front of me, you don't even have the right to self-destruct. In the next moment, Gue Air rose from the ground and appeared in front of Ho Qingshun at an astonishing speed. Bang! Gue Air threw a punch, and it landed on Ho Qingshun's abdomen. The huge force from his abdomen made Ho Qingshun grimace in pain. He felt as if his internal organs were about to fall out. "Old Ho!" Yang Kuan shouted when he saw Ho Qingshun's miserable state. "Stop screaming. No one will come even if you scream your throat out." "Who?" However, before Gue Air could finish his words, his expression changed drastically. A figure was thrown into the room from the outside and hit a chair. Crack! The wooden chair naturally couldn't withstand the weight of the figure and was crushed into pieces. Zhangze. Gue Air was slightly stunned when he saw the cultivator on the ground. He then shifted his gaze to the entrance of the room. There was a familiar figure there. Ningyu. Gue Air's face darkened when he saw Ningyu standing in front of the door unscathed. Gue Air's expression was gloomy, but at the same time, he was confused. One must know that the shockwave from the explosion was extremely powerful. Even he wasn't confident that he could withstand it. How did Ningyu do it? He actually withstood the aftermath of the explosion and wasn't injured at all. "Gue Air, how have you been?" Ningyu smiled as he slowly walked into the room. "I admire your courage." Suddenly, Gue Air calmed down. He stared at Ningyu and said, "I wouldn't have been able to do anything to you if you ran away just now. But you're a fool to appear here. Since that's the case, I'll deal with you first." "There's no need for me to deal with you." Ningyu shrugged and said, "Dark Emperor, Hong Emo, I'll leave Gue Air to you to whoosh." The Dark Emperor had long been annoyed by Gue Air. Wasn't he just the second-ranked genius of the Gue Kai Palace? He wasn't even the first-ranked genius. How could he be so arrogant? Moreover, Gue Air was only at the middle stage of the Primal Core stage. He was at the late stage of the Primal Core stage. Killing Gue Air would be a piece of cake. "Hong Emo, leave Gue Air to me. You don't have to do anything," the Dark Emperor said. "You've forgotten the pain now that your wound has healed." Ningyu was instantly enraged by the Dark Emperor's words. He kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said angrily, "Against an enemy, one should be unscrupulous. Now that we have the advantage in numbers, we should be able to kill him 2-on-1. Fine, you and I, Hongmo, let's work together and get rid of Gue Air as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events." "Good. Young hero, well said. Against an enemy, one should be unscrupulous." Chapter 364. Death Spirit Chi Cold Light, Peerless Genius? He can also be considered a peerless genius. The Dark Emperor sneered. "In my eyes, there is only the difference between a dead person and a living person. There is no difference between geniuses. Even a dead dog dares to be so arrogant. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror?" Gue Air obviously didn't take Ningyu's threats seriously. He took a step back and said, "Today I'll show you what a peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Palace is like." Voila! As soon as he finished speaking, Gue Air's toes touched the ground, and he charged straight at Ho Qingshun. From Gue Air's point of view, Ho Qingshun was the weakest among all the martial artists present besides Yang Kuan and Zhang Ze. After all, Ho Qingshun had already been heavily injured by him, and his current strength wasn't even a tenth of his peak. As the saying goes, if you want to defeat an enemy stronger than you, you must first attack the opponent's weakness. And Ho Qingshun was the weakest link among the four of Ningyu's group. Overturning Cloud Palm. Ho Qingshun was indeed a yin-yang realm early-stage martial artist. Even though he had suffered a heavy injury, he was still able to react quickly. He threw out a backhand palm, colliding with Gue Air's palm print. Pa! The two palm prints collided and a muffled sound rang out. Ho Qingshun only felt a sweetness in his throat, and he forcefully swallowed it back down. Dark Emperor, attack. Ningyu did not dare to hesitate. He immediately charged out with a red demon sword in his hand and fiercely stabbed at Gue Air. Dark Emperor, attack. Ha ha ha. It's finally time for me to show it. With a loud laugh, a pair of purple gold wings appeared on the Dark Emperor's back, and he shot toward Gue Air at an astonishing speed. The Dark Emperor had long advanced to the late Primal Core stage. Whether it was the density of the Yuan Qi in his body or his speed, he was slightly better than Gue Air. In fact, the Emperor of the Dark World was one step ahead of Ningyu to appear beside Gue Air. With a flap of his purple gold wings, a violent cold light shot out towards Gue Air's chest. Purple gold sky, devouring hound. The moment the wings appeared on the Dark Emperor's back, Gue Air discovered the Dark Emperor's true identity. He was the king of the sky-devouring dog clan, the purple gold sky devouring dog. Not good. In the next moment, Gue Air quickly retreated, even using all his strength. However, it was too late for Gue Air to retreat at this moment. The Dark Emperor's attack had already arrived before him and struck his chest. The intense pain from his chest caused Gue Air to grit his teeth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Xiao! At that moment, Ningyu appeared behind Gue Air with a red demon sword in his hand. Before Gue Air could react, the red demon sword suddenly pierced through Gue Air's back, right into his heart. In that instant, time seemed to stand still. Puff! Ningyu quickly pulled the red demon sword out of Gue Air's body. However, Gue Air did not fall as Ningyu had expected. Instead, Gue Air slowly turned around. Gue Air grinned at Ningyu and said, "You forced me to do this. I didn't want to use this move at first, but since you want to die, don't blame me." As he spoke, Gue Air's eyes gradually changed from black to green and finally to blood red. His blood red eyes, coupled with the powerful killing intent radiating from Gue Air's body, made him look like a god of death. "Gue Air, your heart is not on the left side." Suddenly, Ningyu thought of a possibility. Gue Air's heart was on the right side. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, if their heart had been pierced, they would not be able to look completely fine like Gue Air. Don't you think it's a little too late to find out now? The corners of Gue Air's mouth curled up as he opened his eyes. Suddenly, two cold rays of light shot out from his eyes, one towards Ningyu, the other towards the Dark Emperor. Chi-Chi. The two cold rays of light were extremely fast, and they contained violent waves of Yuan Qi and even a bit of Dead Spirit Qi. Dead Spirit Qi was a gas that was even more corrosive than Corpse in Qi. If a normal martial artist came into contact with it, they would rot to death if they did not deal with it in time. Red Devil, take Yang Kuan and this old man out of the room first and surround the room. Ningyu's expression was solemn. He first instructed Red Devil in his mind, then said to the Dark Emperor, "Be careful. This is Dead Spirit Qi. Do not let it touch you. Don't worry, this Dead Spirit Qi can't do anything to me." Although that was what the Dark Emperor said, his expression was extremely solemn. It was obvious that he had heard of the power of Dead Spirit Qi. Woof! At the critical moment, the Dark Emperor roared into the sky, and a wave of energy shot out, colliding with the cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi. Solitaire. As for Ningyu, he waved the Red Devil sword and slashed out several waves of sword energy, which collided with the cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi. Pissed. Gue Air's two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi were extremely powerful, and the moment the Dark Emperor's roar came into contact with them, they turned into nothingness and dissipated. Comparatively speaking, Solitaire lasted a little longer, but it only lasted for 3 seconds before it was defeated. Then, the two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi turned around and floated above Gue Air's fingertips. "Ha! You think I'm a sick cat if I don't show my power?" Gue Air laughed as he gained the upper hand, and said coldly, "Now that you've fallen into my hands, there's only one ending for you, and that is death. No, you have to die. This dog can live." Suddenly, Gue Air changed the topic and said to Ningyu, "These two cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi were originally meant for me to fight for the title of the #1 genius of the Ghost Town Hall. It's your honor to die by his hands." I didn't expect Gue Air to be so powerful. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he had a bad feeling about this. He was in the middle stage of the true martial realm, and his strength was comparable to a peak Yuan Dan martial artist, and he could even compete with an early-stage Yuan Dan martial artist. Gue Air was only a middle-stage Yuan Dan martial artist, and Ningyu thought that he could easily defeat or even kill him, but now it seemed that he was wrong. Guayer's strength had already reached the peak of the early stage yin-yang realm. Even if he joined forces with the Dark Emperor, it would be difficult for them to gain the upper hand. Ningyu knew that unless he could advance to the late stage of the true martial realm, it would be difficult to compete with Guayer. It's not that Guayer is strong. It's the two cold rays of dead spirit chi in his hands that are tricky to deal with. The Dark Emperor sent a sound transmission to Ningyu. These two cold beams of dead spirit chi are rather special. They're of good quality amongst the dead spirit chi. Unless we think of a way to disperse these two cold beams of dead spirit chi, it will be very difficult for us to win. Easier said than done. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "If we really can't do it, we can only abandon the quenching fire cauldron." The quenching fire cauldron was ranked 50th on the Earth list of cauldrons, and its material was very special. Ningyu had an idea in his mind, and that was to open the quenching fire cauldron and draw the two cold rays of dead spirit chi in. As long as he could force the two cold rays of dead spirit chi into the quenching fire cauldron, Ningyu would have a way to refine the cold rays of dead spirit chi. Chapter 365. Mysterious Storage Pouch. Guayer, your two rays of dead spirit chi are only SOSO. Since he had decided to use the cauldron, Ningyu regained his composure. He looked at Guayer and said calmly, "If the Dark Emperor and I can withstand their first attack, then we can withstand the second, third, and even countless times." "Hee, aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue?" Guayer grinned. "Since you are so stubborn, then I will show you what I am capable of, so you know that there is always someone better than you out there." As soon as the word "out there" fell, Guayer pushed his hands forward, and two rays of dead spirit chi shot out from his fingertips. As if they had eyes of their own, they charged straight at Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor quickly entered the storage ring. Ningyu knew that with the Dark Emperor's current strength, there was no way he could withstand the power of the rays of dead spirit chi. So he yelled, "Leave these two rays of dead spirit chi to me." Understood. The Dark Emperor was a heaven-devouring hound, and as soon as he heard Ningyu's words, he dove into the storage ring in a flash. "Oh, I didn't think your storage ring could store a person. Looks like this trip was worth it." Seeing the Dark Emperor enter the storage ring, Guayer was stunned for a moment, but then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. A spatial ring that could store a person would have to be at least of the king rank. In fact, it might even surpass the king rank and reach the monarch rank. Guayer was a little excited just thinking about it. "Guayer, are you blind?" Ningyu completely ignored the two rays of dead spirit chi that were about to reach him. He raised an eyebrow. "The one that just entered the storage ring was not a person. It was your grandpa, Emperor. You're seeking death." Guayer snorted and then unleashed his late-stage, 5th-grade soul force, along with the two rays of dead spirit chi, toward Ningyu. This is the moment. Seeing this, Ningyu's face lit up with joy, and he hurriedly threw out the red demon sword to meet Guayer's soul force. The red demon sword was also a devouring, flying sword. If it could even devour Sun Jiangwen's peak 7th-grade soul force, then what about Guayer's late 5th-grade soul force? Therefore, the moment the red demon sword came into contact with Guayer's advanced 5th-grade soul force, an extremely powerful devouring force erupted from it. In an instant, a tenth of Guayer's soul force had been devoured. Devouring flying swords? The sudden change caused Guayer's expression to change drastically. Without any time to think, he immediately retreated. However, Guayer was still very excited as he retreated. It could be said that he was extremely excited. To be able to devour a tenth of his soul force in an instant, it was enough to show how special this red flying sword was. Coupled with the energy fluctuations emanating from the red flying sword, Guayer's initial judgment was that it was at least a king rank. A martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm not only had a king rank storage ring, but also a king rank flying sword. Wouldn't it be too wasteful to just kill him like this? In Guayer's opinion, no matter what, he had to capture Ningyu and force him to reveal his secrets. Cold dead spirit Qi, come back. With this thought in mind, Gue Air flipped his wrist to recall the two cold dead spirit Qi. Suddenly, Gue Air saw something that terrified him. Not far away, Ningyu was dragging a huge alchemy furnace in his hand. The lid of the alchemy furnace was opened, and under Gue Air's horrified gaze, the two cold dead spirit Qi entered the alchemy furnace. Ha! Then, Ningyu suddenly closed the alchemy furnace. My cold dead spirit Qi. Ningyu's action caused Gue Air to be a little dumbfounded. With a thought, he tried to communicate with the cold dead spirit Qi. However, what happened next completely stupefied him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't communicate with the cold dead spirit Qi. In other words, the cold dead spirit Qi was already under Ningyu's control. Dark Emperor, come out. Ningyu shook the alchemy furnace in his hand and shouted in a low voice. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Dark Emperor flew out from the storage ring. Ningyu, can this alchemy furnace control the cold dead spirit Qi? The Dark Emperor was still worried and asked in a low voice. Don't worry. Although the alchemy furnace is not on the heaven ranking, its quality is not low. It can still trap the two cold dead spirit Qi for a short period of time. Ningyu said, Good. If that's the case, I can rest assured. Without the cold dead spirit Qi to worry about, the Dark Emperor was no longer worried. His figure flashed, and he quickly charged toward Gue Air. Solitaire. In order to get rid of Gue Air as soon as possible, Ningyu also joined the battle. Although Gue Air was the second genius in the Corpse Sex Ghost Talent Hall, his ranking was completely based on the cold dead spirit Qi. Without the cold dead spirit Qi, his strength would drop by at least half. In fact, there was no need for Ningyu to make a move. The Dark Emperor could get rid of Gue Air. But for safety's sake, Ningyu still held the Red Demon Sword and attacked Gue Air with the Dark Emperor. When the cold dead spirit Qi was present, Gue Air could still hold the upper hand, but without the cold dead spirit Qi, he was exposed. Gue Air only lasted for 15 minutes against Ningyu and the Dark Emperor before he was completely defeated. Qi. Ningyu did not plan to leave Gue Air alive. After defeating Gue Air, he mercilessly stabbed the Red Demon Sword into Gue Air's heart. This time, Ningyu used the Red Demon Sword's devouring power to completely devour Gue Air's Yuan Qi and Soul Force. Whoosh! After a while, Ningyu let out a long breath and slowly withdrew the Red Demon Sword from Gue Air's body. Ningyu, the higher-ups of the Corpse Sect, are all in Ivory City. If you kill me, you won't be able to escape. Poochie. With that, Gue Air suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and his body fell backward. Bang! The sound of his body hitting the ground echoed in the room for a long time. After confirming that Gue Air was dead, Ningyu's tense nerves finally relaxed, and he sat down on the chair behind him. As for the Dark Emperor, he lay on the ground and panted heavily. About 3 minutes later, Ningyu was the first to stand up from the ground. He went straight to Gue Air and reached out his hand to search Gue Air's body. After a while, Ningyu returned to the chair and sat down again. However, in his hand, there was a storage bag and a token that represented his identity. Looking at the black token in his hand, Ningyu directly threw it into his storage ring. Then, Ningyu probed the storage bag with his soul force. Holy shit! As soon as his soul force entered the storage bag, Ningyu was stunned on the spot. It wasn't that there were too many Dharma treasures in the storage bag, but that the storage bag was empty. Shaking his head, Ningyu was about to throw the storage bag back into his storage ring. At this time, the Dark Emperor waved his paw and said weakly, Give me the storage bag in your hand. You want the storage bag? Ningyu was surprised at first. Then he threw the storage bag to the Dark Emperor. You can have as many storage bags as you want. Why care about this one? That's what you don't understand. Chapter 366. Many origin crystals. Could it be that there's something else in the storage bag? Seeing the Dark Emperor's actions, Ningyu was slightly taken aback and doubtful. He had checked the storage bag, but there was nothing inside. It was as clean as an airport. Could it be that the storage bag had changed after the Dark Emperor checked it? The Dark Emperor placed the storage bag in his hand and looked at it carefully. Then, he made an action that shocked Ningyu. He opened his mouth wide and swallowed the storage bag into his stomach. Swallowing the storage bag? Even if the Dark Emperor was the emperor of the heaven-swallowing dog clan, he couldn't be so arrogant, right? That was a storage bag. There was nothing inside. The Dark Emperor swallowing, it was a completely thankless task. Just as Ningyu was feeling shocked, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth again and spat out the storage bag. Red? Looking at the red storage bag that had fallen to the ground, Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape, and he was extremely shocked. If you remember correctly, the storage bag was still gray at the beginning. Why did it turn red after passing through the Dark Emperor's mouth? Ningyu, take a look at what's inside the storage bag. The Dark Emperor lazily laid on the ground and said. Ningyu hurriedly released his soul force and entered the storage bag. Dark Emperor, you're not playing with me, are you? Why is there still nothing? Ningyu delightedly probed the storage bag, but in the end, he found nothing. If we had known this would happen, we would have left the City Lord's mansion as soon as possible. Ningyu was extremely speechless and wished that he could kick the Dark Emperors but a few more times. Nothing at all. That doesn't make sense. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor was also a little confused. He immediately stood up from the ground and snatched the storage bag from Ningyu's hands. All right. I forgot that you're not very familiar with space. Slightly embarrassed, the Dark Emperor returned the storage bag to Ningyu and said, use your soul force to stimulate a point in the storage bag, and then you will see a shocking scene. I hope that you won't disappoint me this time around, Ningyu said as he took the storage pouch from the Dark Emperor. F***CK. It would have been fine if he didn't look, but when he did, Ningyu was quite shocked. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, as if something in the storage bag had shattered. Then, Ningyu saw a shocking scene. The storage bag was filled with a large amount of yuan crystals, all of which were top-grade yuan crystals. It was to the extent that the pile at the very front was emitting a dazzling light. Obviously, it had already surpassed the limits of top-grade essence crystals and reached the quality of transcendent-grade essence crystals. Gulp! Ningyu could not help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. After scanning it with his soul force, Ningyu could basically confirm that there were a total of 10 million top-grade yuan crystals and 800,000 transcendent-grade yuan crystals. Originally, Ningyu was only left with a few hundred top-grade yuan crystals. Now that there were so many of them, he was indeed shocked. What's so good about those yuan crystals? Look behind them and see what's there. Just then, the Dark Emperor's voice rang in Ningyu's ears. Hearing this, Ningyu's soul force went around the pile of top-grade yuan crystals and came behind them. Red spirit fruit. Looking at the two red fruits lying behind the crystals, Ningyu's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. The red fruit was nothing else but a 7th-grade fruit, red spirit fruit. The red spirit fruit was the same as the exquisite fruit, a 7th-grade fruit. The only difference was that the red spirit fruit was a 7th-grade fruit, while the exquisite fruit was not considered the best among the 7th-grade fruits. Secondly, the red spirit fruit contained violent energy that could allow a yuan dance stage martial artist to unconditionally advance a stage. The main function of the exquisite fruit was to expand the cyclone. Since the red spirit fruit could allow a yuan dance stage martial artist to unconditionally advance a stage, then wouldn't he, who was in the middle stage of the true martial realm, be able to directly advance to the pinnacle of the true martial realm if he consumed it? Thinking of this, Ningyu revealed a fiery expression. But very quickly, Ningyu said to the Dark Emperor, the red spirit fruit is a 7th-grade elixir. Aren't you jealous? Ningyu knew the Dark Emperor best. With his personality, if there was no problem with the red spirit fruit, he would definitely be the first to swallow it. Ningyu, am I such a person in your heart? The Dark Emperor had a pained look. Ningyu came to the Dark Emperor's side and looked at him carefully for a minute. He then nodded and said solemnly, you are not such a person in my heart. At least you have a conscience. The Dark Emperor said, in my heart, you are scarier than such a person. Ningyu's next words made the Dark Emperor have the urge to vomit blood. Cut the crap. Hurry up and tell me what's wrong with the 2 red spirit fruits. Ningyu waved his hand and said, "How heartbreaking." The Dark Emperor clutched his chest and revealed an extremely disappointed expression. Then he said, "There's nothing wrong with the red spirit fruit. The one with the problem is me." "You have a problem?" Ningyu was stunned and asked. "Don't get angry if I tell you." The Dark Emperor's body gradually softened, and he said, "Actually, there are more than 800,000 Supreme Grade Yuan crystals in the storage bag. There are 1 million Supreme Grade Yuan crystals." If that's the case. At this point, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened, and he couldn't help but exclaim, "You swallow the other 200,000 Supreme Grade Yuan crystals? What's there to be surprised about? I just swallowed 200,000 Supreme Grade Yuan crystals. At most, I'll return them to you in the future." "All right." As he spoke, the Dark Emperor's eyes darkened, and he fell to the ground. Dark Emperor. It wasn't that Ningyu didn't want the Dark Emperor to swallow the Supreme Grade Yuan crystals. It was just that 200,000 Supreme Grade Yuan crystals were simply too much. Given the Dark Emperor's late-stage primal core cultivation, swallowing so many Yuan crystals might very well cause him to explode and die. Damn it! Cursing under his breath, Ningyu immediately came to the Dark Emperor's side and released his soul power to check on the Dark Emperor's body. 10 minutes later, Ningyu retracted his soul power from the Dark Emperor's body. With a slightly serious expression, Ningyu mumbled, "Whether or not I can refine so many Supreme Grade Yuan crystals will depend on the Dark Emperor's own luck." Luckily, the Dark Emperor was a purple gold sky devouring hound. Otherwise, he would have died a long time ago after swallowing 200,000 Supreme Grade Yuan crystals. Even so, it was unknown whether or not the Dark Emperor could survive this ordeal. If he could, his cultivation level would naturally skyrocket, and he might even advance to the pinnacle of the primal core state, or even half a step into the yin-yang state. If he couldn't, there would only be one result, and that was to disappear from this world. Sigh, Dark Emperor, when are you going to change your habit of blindly devouring things? Ningyu heaved a faint sigh as he controlled the storage ring to gradually expand. Then, a pillar of light flew out and enveloped the Dark Emperor, sucking him into the storage ring. After doing all this, Ningyu was slightly relieved. The Dark Emperor had been through life and death with him for such a long time, so he naturally didn't want anything to happen to the Dark Emperor. However, the Dark Emperor's situation was clearly out of his control, so he could only calm himself down and say to Hong Mo. Chapter 367. Near the ivory tower Schwa, Hong Mo, who was outside the room, was already itching to enter. He felt guilty for letting Ningyu and the Dark Emperor fight with Gue Air inside. Hearing Ningyu's voice, Hong Mo's figure flashed and entered the room. Xiao! Xiao! Soon after, Yang Kuan and Ho Qingshun also entered the room. Ningyu, you killed Gue Air? Entering the room, Yang Kuan saw Gue Air lying lifelessly on the ground. He was slightly startled and immediately said in surprise, "Gue Air is a peerless genius of the Ghost Kai Hall of the Corpse Sect. You actually, Yang Kuan, no one will think you are mute if you don't speak." Ho Qingshun coldly snorted and said, "Ningyu's strength is not something you can figure out. Let me tell you, even if I was at my peak, I might not be his opponent." What? Yang Kuan was dumbfounded again. In his opinion, Ningyu was just a martial artist at the middle stage of the true martial realm. At best, he could only fight with a martial artist at the middle stage of the primal core realm. Ho Qingshun was the strongest martial artist in the City Lord Mansion. He was at the early stage of the yin-yang realm. From what he said, it seemed like he was not Ningyu's opponent. Ningyu, first of all, thank you for killing Gue Air. Ho Qingshun smiled at Ningyu and said, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Ho Qingshun. If you don't mind, you can call me Old Ho." Old Ho, Gue Air is from the Corpse Sect. If I didn't kill him, he would have killed me, Ningyu said with a shrug. In any case, you killed Gue Air and helped me a lot. I will remember this kindness. If there is anything I can use in the future, just say it. Ho Ching-chun patted his chest and said, Right, old Ho, quickly send someone to check around the ivory tower. Suddenly, Ning Yu's complexion changed and said, Hearing Ning Yu's words, coupled with Ning Yu's expression, Ho Ching-chun said, Is this important? Of course it's important. Ning Yu solemnly said, The higher-ups of the corpse sect kidnapped a martial artist at the middle stage of the yin-yang realm. They said they would use that martial artist's self-detonation to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower. You don't have to worry about this. Not to mention the self-detonation of a middle yin-yang stage martial artist. Even a late yin-yang stage martial artist won't be able to break the entrance of the ivory tower. Ho Ching-chun said confidently. Old Ho, I have to remind you. After pondering for a moment, Ning Yu said, The power of a yin-yang realm middle stage martial artist's self-destruction is not to be underestimated. Once the people of the corpse yin sect control a yin-yang realm middle stage martial artist to self-destruct, the entire Ivory City will suffer. Ning Yu is not a saint. The safety of the people in Ivory City had nothing to do with him. However, since he knew Yang Kuen's son, Yang Yu, he felt that it was necessary to remind Ho Ching-chun and Yang Kuen. Before Ho Ching-chun could say anything, Yang Kuen's expression changed drastically. He was the city lord of Ivory City. He couldn't bear the consequences of a middle yin-yang realm middle stage martial artist's self-destruction in Ivory City. I'll arrange someone to... Yang Kuen moved his feet and was about to leave the room. Rumble. However, before Yang Kuen could finish his words, his expression changed dramatically, because an earth-shattering explosion sounded. Not good. Feeling the power of the explosion, Yang Kuen finally understood that what Ning Yu said was true. It was really a middle yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist's self-destruction. No. Suddenly, Ho Ching-chun released his perception. After a moment, he shook his head and said, The aftermath of the explosion didn't spread. It should be controlled by someone near the ivory tower. Huh? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and released his perception. After a while, he took a deep breath and said, That's right. I don't know who has the courage to resist the self-destruction of a middle yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist. How about we go and have a look? Ho Ching-chun hesitated. We can go there, but we can't just go there like this. We need to make some preparations. After thinking for a while, Ning Yu said, Wait for me. I'll contact someone. Then, Ning Yu closed his eyes and began to communicate with Sun Jiangwen. Sun Jiangwen had been controlled by Ning Yu, so Ho Ching-chun and Yang Kuen didn't know the conversation between Ning Yu and him. Sun Jiangwen, what's the situation at the ivory tower? Ning Yu communicated with Sun Jiangwen through the soul power in Sun Jiangwen's sea of consciousness. We're trapped in the ivory square, and the situation is very critical. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Sun Jiangwen was shocked and didn't dare to be negligent. Trapped in the ivory square? Ning Yu was stunned at first. Then he said, Tell me the details. The middle yin-yang realm middle stage martial artist self-destruction didn't break the entrance of the ivory tower. Sun Jiangwen took a deep breath and said slowly. It turned out that Tu Zhan's self-destruction had only caused the door of the ivory tower to shake a little. Moreover, the door only shook for a while before it stabilized. Just when the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest were about to leave, several rays of cold light shot out from the ivory tower and enveloped the entire ivory square. Therefore, the aftermath of Tu Zhan's self-destruction didn't spread in all directions, but only circulated inside the ivory square. Fortunately, the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had joined forces to set up a protective shield. Otherwise, Tu Zhan's self-destruction alone would have caused them to suffer heavy injuries. Even so, the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had expended too much energy and were currently recuperating with all their might. They are recuperating? After listening to Sun Jiangwen's story, Ning Yu rolled his eyes and came up with a bold idea. Since the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had expended too much energy, why not take this opportunity to catch them all? Very soon, Ning Yu dismissed this idea. At this moment, The Dark Emperor was digesting the supreme-grade origin crystals in the storage ring. Ho Qingshun wasn't in his peak condition, and his own strength was limited. It was unrealistic to think that he could catch the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest in one go. Sun Jiangwen, according to your estimation, when can you leave the Ivory Square? Ningyu asked in a deep voice. This. After hesitating for a moment, Sun Jiangwen said, if there is no accident, we can break the barrier around the Ivory Square in 6 hours and leave Ivory City. 6 hours, huh? Ningyu was lost in thought. If there were no accidents, the people from the capital would arrive in 6 hours. At that time, it would be difficult for the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest to leave. After a moment, Ningyu gritted his teeth and said, Old Ho, let's go to the Ivory Square to have a look. Didn't you say that the higher-ups of the Corpsine sect are near the Ivory Tower? Won't we be discovered if we go there? Ho Qingshun asked. Don't worry, we will only watch from a distance and won't attract their attention. Ningyu said in a deep voice. Good. Since you said so, I will accompany you. Ho Qingshun said. There's no time to lose. Let's set off as soon as possible. Ningyu stepped on the ground and instantly left the city lord's mansion and flew toward the Ivory Square. Behind him, the Red Devil Ho Qingshun and Yang Kuan also increased their speed and followed closely. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A moment later, the four of them landed in a corner outside the Ivory Square. Ningyu, find a way to get close to the Ivory Tower. I will give you a great fortune. Chapter 368. A great fortune near the Ivory Tower? Ningyu was slightly startled. His mouth opened slightly in shock. Who are you? I haven't seen you for more than a month, and you can't even recognize my voice? If I hadn't helped you with what you did in the Ivory Space, you would have been captured by those old monsters for research. The mysterious voice once again sounded in Ningyu's ears. What I did in the Ivory Space. I know, you're the senior on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. Ningyu was a little stunned at first, but then his eyes widened in surprise. Back in the Ivory Space, Ningyu and the Red Devil had unscrupulously absorbed the vitality inside. If it weren't for the time limit, they would have absorbed all the vitality inside the Ivory Space. Even so, Ningyu and the others had absorbed more than half of the vitality inside the Ivory Space. At first, Ningyu thought that he had done it secretly, but now it seemed that he was a little naive. Senior, you want to give me a fortuitous encounter? Ningyu tried to play dumb and asked hesitantly. See, I forgot about the important matter. The mysterious voice continued. Do you want to be a hero? I don't want to. Ningyu replied without any hesitation. F***CK. This kid doesn't know what's good for him. There were 4 figures on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. If Ningyu was here, he would have found that he knew all 4 martial artists. One was the White Phantom he first met when he entered the Ivory Tower, the Golden Lion King, and the black-robed martial artist on the 9th floor of the Ivory Tower. The last one was the gray-robed old man who had just spoken to him on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. The Golden Lion King was furious after hearing Ningyu's words. This is a blessing that he has cultivated for 8 lifetimes, but he doesn't know how to cherish it. Golden Lion, don't say anything. The White Phantom next to him said, Ningyu is doing this wisely. Do you think it's so easy to be a hero? He's playing it safe. He's very smart. Self-preservation? Jinshi still couldn't understand and asked doubtfully. That's right, it is indeed self-preservation. The Black-Robe Cultivator said, after not seeing him for a month. Not only has Ningyu's cultivation improved, but his brain has also become much smarter. Compared to the White Shadow and the others, the gray-robed elder was much calmer. He frowned and said, The 3 of you are responsible for maintaining the barrier. No matter what, don't let the 5 palace masters of the Corpse sect leave the Ivory Square. Understood. Hearing this, the White Shadow and the others did not stay any longer. Their figures flashed as they left the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. At this moment, only the gray-robed old man was left on the 10th floor of the Ivory Tower. He's indeed the descendant of an old friend. I'll let him have this opportunity. Anyway, this ivory tower won't last much longer, Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, the gray-clothed old man suddenly stretched out his palm, and he tore open a rift in the space before him before walking directly into it. As soon as the gray-robed elder stepped into the spatial crack, Ningyu felt the space around him tremble slightly. What's going on? As a yin-yang realm early-stage martial artist, Ho Qingxian was still relatively sensitive to space. The moment the surrounding space trembled, he noticed some clues. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, just as Ho Qingxian wanted to probe with his perception, 3 cold lights shot out from the rift in a row. One was aimed at Ho Qingxian, one was aimed at Yang Kun, and the last one was aimed at Hong Imo. Immediately afterward, Ho Qingxian and Yang Kun felt their vision go black, and they lost consciousness. As for Hong Imo, when the cold light was about to hit him, his body turned illusory and directly turned into an afterimage, drilling into the red demon's sword. Buzz. Moreover, Hong Imo controlled the red demon's sword and clashed head-on with the cold light. After the blow, the red demon's sword was pushed back several meters before it stabilized. Spirit body. Looking at the red flying sword floating in front of him, the gray-robed elder appeared from the void. His eyes widened as he said incredulously, "It's actually a spirit body, and it's the spirit body of a king-grade flying sword." Senior. In fact, when the cold light shot out, Ningyu had already determined that it was a martial artist from the 10th floor of Ivory City, because he was very familiar with this aura. Sure enough, the moment he saw the gray-robed elder, Ningyu's expression became dignified, and he asked, "What matter requires you to personally come out?" "Don't talk nonsense. I'll make it short." The gray-robed old man obviously didn't want to stay here for too long. He went straight to the point and said, "I came here because I have 2 things to tell you. First, with my current strength, I'm not strong enough to kill the 5 corpse sect branch masters in the Ivory Square. They will definitely escape. However, although they can escape, they will definitely be seriously injured and will only be able to display the strength of the true martial realm for a short period of time. I will leave a mark on them, and you can use the mark to find where they are staying." At this point, the gray-robed elder paused for a moment, and then continued, "You only have 3 days. In other words, after 3 days, their strength will recover, and you must leave. Otherwise, the situation will be very bad for you." Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, "Senior, the good fortune you said you would give me, is it this?" Shaking his head, the gray-robed elder said, "Of course not. The good fortune I will give you is 100 times better than this. Xiao." Then, the gray-robed elder waved his sleeve, and suddenly a small square pagoda was thrown towards Ningyu. "Ha!" Catching the square pagoda firmly, Ningyu said, "Senior, it is what the Corpsine sect is fighting for." The gray-robed elder said. Hearing this, Ningyu's eyes widened, and his mouth opened wide, revealing a look of disbelief. "Yes, it is a magic treasure that can slow down the passage of time. The Times Square Pagoda." The gray-robed elder said in a deep voice, "Now I will leave it with you for safekeeping. You must remember, before your cultivation reaches the yin-yang stage, do not use it, because it is not something you can control. Senior, I will take good care of it, but where can I find you?" Ningyu said solemnly. "You should also have a token to enter the Sky Tower. We will meet again at the Sky Tower." With that, the gray-robed elder's figure gradually became illusory, and in the end, he completely disappeared. However, after the gray-robed elder disappeared, a voice sounded in Ningyu's ear. "The Times Square Pagoda will guide you to the Corpse Sect's branch hall master. What you need to do now is to leave the Ivory Square as soon as possible and evacuate as many cultivators as possible." Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, Ningyu's heart trembled, and he hurriedly turned his head. He saw the ivory tower faintly shaking, and the barrier around the Ivory Square was constantly shrinking. At this speed, the barrier would shrink to a certain limit in, at most, 2 hours. Chapter 369. Search One's House I.O. After the gray-clothed old man vanished, Ho Ching-chan was the first to wake up. He rubbed his swollen head, looked left and right, and asked in confusion, "Ningyu, do you know what just happened?" "I don't know. My head is still hurting." In order not to cause trouble, Ningyu pretended to be unconscious the moment before Ho Ching-chan woke up. When Ho Ching-chan woke up, Ningyu also woke up. "You don't know what's going on either?" Ho Ching-chan frowned and said, "What about the man in red?" F***CK. At that moment, Yang Kuan woke up and couldn't help but curse. "Elder Ho, look." Ningyu didn't want to explain too much about this matter. He pointed his palm forward and said, "The barrier around Ivory Square is shrinking." "What?" Upon hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Ching-chan's expression changed greatly. He couldn't be bothered to ask why he had fainted, and he exclaimed, "Yang Kuan, quickly evacuate the residents around Ivory Square. The faster the better." Ho Ching-chan was indeed worthy of being an initial stage yin-yang realm martial artist. He saw through the problem at first glance. Although it would take 2 hours for the barrier to reach the corpse Sex branch hall master, it would be too late to evacuate the residents by then. Elder Ho, why? Unlike Ho Ching-chan, Yang Kuan did not understand. "Idiot. If I'm not wrong, when the barrier reaches them, the battle will break out." Ho Ching-chan kicked Yang Kuan and said angrily, "I'll give you 2 hours. After 2 hours, I don't want to see any residents within a radius of a few miles with Ivory Plaza as the center." At this point, Yang Kuan finally understood. Not daring to delay, he immediately rose from the ground and rushed toward the city lord's mansion. With his strength alone, it was impossible for him to complete the task given to him by Ho Ching-chan. He needed to go to the city lord's mansion to call for help and a large number of people to help him. "Ningyu, what are we doing now?" Not long after Yang Kuan left, Ho Ching-chan asked, "Search the house." With these 2 words, Ningyu rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he flew straight into the distance. Search the house. Ho Ching-chan was slightly stunned, but he didn't hesitate and still followed closely behind Ningyu. Whoosh, whoosh. On the streets of Ivory City, 2 figures, one in front and one behind, moved extremely fast and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. "Did anyone pass through here?" "Someone did pass through here, but I didn't see it clearly. You are a martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm, but even you couldn't see it clearly. Doesn't that mean that martial artist just now is of the Yuandan realm?" "It's hard to say. If I'm not wrong, it should be a primal core pinnacle martial artist." Peak primal core stage. When the surrounding martial artists heard this, there was an uproar. Ivory City might be a major city in the Great Xia Kingdom, but martial artists who were at the peak stage of the origin core realm rarely appeared on the streets. Could it be that something big was going to happen in Ivory City this time, that there was a peak primal core practitioner roaming the streets? So fast. Ho Ching-chan didn't know that everyone was shocked. If he knew, he would just laugh it off, because he was even more shocked than everyone else. With his early yin-yang stage cultivation, he could only follow behind Ningyu and not catch up with Ningyu. If he was this fast when he was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, what would he be like when he advanced to the yin-yang stage? He is indeed a core disciple of the Sacred College of Danwu College. This level of talent is really enviable. Ho Ching-chan shook his head to dispel the thoughts in his mind and sped up. Not long after, they stopped in front of a luxurious building. Looking at the luxurious building in front of him, Ho Ching-chan was stunned at first. "Ningyu, this is the Zhang family." Before Ho Ching-chan could finish his sentence, Ningyu waved his hand and interrupted him. "The Zhang family is here. Have you forgotten Zhang Zhe, who is by Gui Heir's side?" Zhang Zhe. Hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Ching-chan was stunned, and then said coldly, "If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. He has turned to Gui Heir. Let's go in and have a look. Maybe there will be a surprise." Twisting his neck, Ningyu took the lead and walked toward the front door of the Zhang family. "What are you doing?" However, when Ningyu arrived at the door of the Zhang family, he was stopped by 2 servants who were guarding the door. One of the servants, who was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, was very arrogant and said proudly, "This is the Zhang family. If you know what's good for you, get out of here, or else you will have to bear the consequences. He, Wang Er, don't talk nonsense with him. After today, the whole Ivory City will belong to the Zhang family. The other servant, who was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, laughed and swaggered toward Ningyu. Looking at the servant approaching him, Ningyu simply stopped, cupped his fists, and looked at him with interest. "Oh, you are very arrogant, boy. Today I will let you taste." Ouch! While speaking, the servant clenched his right fist and directly punched toward Ningyu. Gotcha! However, what he expected did not happen. Instead, Ningyu grabbed his wrist and with a little force directly broke his wrist. The intense pain from his wrist caused the manservant to let out a blood-curdling screech like a pig being slaughtered. Zhao Hu. Seeing Zhao Hu's miserable condition, Wang Er's face suddenly became gloomy, and he said angrily, "Boy, you injured Zhao Hu. Leave one hand." Noisy. The reason why Ningyu did not rush into the Zhang family was because he sensed two auras not weaker than Ho Qingchen. The owner of the aura was at least at the early stage of the yin-yang realm, and it was even possible that he had reached the peak of the early stage of the yin-yang realm. Ho Qingchen had just advanced to the early stage of the yin-yang realm, and he was seriously injured. His current strength was only between the peak of the primal core realm and half a step to the yin-yang realm. This kind of strength was very disadvantageous for breaking into the Zhang family. Poof! Since he was already here, Ningyu did not intend to go back. He flicked his sleeves, and suddenly a cold light swept out. Under Wang Er's horrified gaze, it continued to expand, and finally stabbed into Wang Er's chest. Bang! Compared to Zhao Hu, Wang Er was much more unlucky, because he was killed by Ningyu in a single blow and died on the spot. Zhao Hu only lost his right hand. Who dares to be so arrogant in the Zhang family? At this moment, a loud shout sounded from the courtyard of the Zhang family. The voice was extremely powerful, and there was a little essence chi fluctuation in it, blasting toward Ningyu. Humph! Feeling this super strong essence chi fluctuation, Ho Qingchen snorted coldly, took a step forward, and blocked in front of Ningyu. Then, the aura of his whole body emerged, helping Ningyu to resist this super strong essence chi wave. I was wondering who it was. So it's the City Lord's Mansion's monkey. After the blow, an old man in brown flew out from the courtyard of the Zhang family. The old man was about 70 years old, and his hair was white. Chapter 370. Zhang Bin what? The strongest person in the City Lord's Mansion has advanced to the yin-yang realm? It should be true. The Zhang family's old ancestor has advanced to the yin-yang realm a long time ago. His words can't be false. There's another yin-yang realm martial artist in Ivory City. This is a big deal for the City Lord's Mansion. They need to invite experts from all over. Invite experts from all over? I'm afraid Ho Qingchen won't live past today. Won't live past today? That's impossible. Who can kill Ho Qingchen, who is in the yin-yang realm? The Zhang family's old ancestor, Zhang Bin. In this world, there had always been more people watching the show. When Ningyu killed Wang Er, many martial artists surrounded him. Their purpose was simple. They wanted to watch the show. Zhang Bin, you despicable bastard. If it weren't for you, I would have advanced to the yin-yang realm a year ago. Ho Qingchen's face instantly darkened when he heard the words of the Zhang clan's ancestor, Zhang Bin, and he said in a cold voice, "Let me ask you, were Zhang Zai's actions instructed by you?" Zhang Bin's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. Zhang Zai had followed Gue Er to the City Lord's Mansion under his instruction. Although Ho Qingchen wasn't in his peak condition, he was still standing here. Could it be that Gue Er failed and Zhang Zai was killed? Thinking of this, Zhang Bin's face became completely gloomy. He said coldly, "Ho Qingchen, I don't know what you're talking about. Today, you trespassed into the Zhang family. I must teach you a lesson." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Bin rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage and appeared beside Ho Qingchen in a flash. Immediately after, his fist brought along an extremely violent origin chi and fiercely smashed towards Ho Qingchen's head. This punch was so powerful that if Ho Ching-chun was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Damn it! At the critical moment, Ho Ching-chun cursed inwardly. The essence chi in his sea of consciousness wrapped around his wrist, and with a backhand punch, it collided with Zhang Bin's fist. Crack! A crisp sound rang in the area when the two fists collided. Ho Ching-chun only felt a sweetness in his throat. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. His originally weak aura became even weaker. Zhang Bin, you've actually reached the peak of early yin-yang realm. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ho Ching-chun said in a low voice, "You were only at the initial stage of yin-yang realm a month ago. It's basically impossible for you to advance to the pinnacle of the initial stage of yin-yang realm in a month." Ha! Ho Ching-chun, who said that it's impossible for me to advance to the peak of early yin-yang realm in a month. With a smile, Zhang Bin said, "Let's not talk about yin-yang initial stage. Let me put it this way. I'll be able to advance to yin-yang middle stage in a week." Wah! Zhang Bin's words caused an uproar in the surroundings. Middle yin-yang realm? In Ivory City, an early-stage yin-yang realm martial artist was already very powerful. They had never seen a middle-stage yin-yang realm martial artist. Humph! Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Before Ho Ching-chun could speak, Ningyu snorted, "You have a hidden illness in your body. If you don't get rid of it, you can forget about advancing to the middle stage of yin-yang realm in your lifetime." Hidden illness? What kind of illness does Zhang Bin have? I don't know. Who is this young man? How did he know that Zhang Bin has a hidden illness? He's Ningyu, the core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College. Ivory City was a big city with a relatively fast population flow. It was not surprising that someone knew Ningyu. The core disciple of Danwu College. I heard that the Zhang family also has a genius who entered Danwu College. I think his name is Zhang Tianwen. Your information is too outdated. Zhang Tianwen is from the Zhang family in the capital. He has nothing to do with the Zhang family in Ivory City. I see. The surrounding martial artist discussion made Zhang Bin's face a little ugly. As a dignified early-stage yin-yang realm martial artist, he was actually said by Ningyu to have a hidden illness. This was really intolerable. Uncle couldn't stand it either. Even his uncle couldn't stand it. Ningyu, don't think that just because you're a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College, I dare not do anything to you. Zhang Bin had never put Ningyu in his eyes. From the first time he saw Ningyu until now. Every full moon night, you will feel a pain in your abdomen. Ignoring Zhang Bin's threat, Ningyu continued, "It used to be once a month, but since last month, the pain in your abdomen has become more and more serious, even once a week. Recently, the pain in your abdomen will occur once a day." A mouthful of nonsense. Zhang Bin's eyes flickered as he said coldly, "I know how to remove your hidden illness." Ningyu laughed. "Humph. A mere middle-stage, true martial realm martial artist wants to judge my illness?" Zhang Bin said coldly. "Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Forget it. Today, you broke into the Zhang family first. Even if I kill you, Danwu College will not say anything." As soon as his voice fell, Zhang Bin instantly rushed out. Since he had advanced to the early-stage yin-yang realm, Zhang Bin's speed was very fast. He was so fast that no one could see his figure except for Ningyu and Ho Ching-chun. Ho Ching-chun could see Zhang Bin's figure because he was also a yin-yang realm martial artist. Naturally, he could see it, but it was a little blurry. And Ningyu could see it because of the strength of his 5th grade middle stage soul power. Solitaire. Facing Zhang Bin, who was constantly approaching him, Ningyu's pupil shrank and his body quickly retreated. In the process of retreating, Ningyu did not know when the red demon sword appeared in his hand, and he quickly waved it. Swish! 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 With a low shout from Ningyu's mouth, 3 consecutive sword waves appeared in the air and floated in front of Ningyu. As soon as the solitaire was formed, Zhang Bin arrived at Ningyu's side. The next moment, under the exclamation of the crowd, Zhang Bin's fist smashed toward Ning Yu's head. To deal with Ning Yu, Zhang Bin did not use his full strength. He only used 50% of his strength. In his opinion, Ning Yu was only a true martial realm middle-stage martial artist. He had already thought highly of Ning Yu by making a move. Even if Ning Yu died in his hands, he could still be proud of it. Just a few sword waves. The corner of Zhang Bin's mouth rose, and his fist collided with the solitaire in front of Ning Yu. Chi, chi, chi. 3 consecutive crisp sounds resounded, and then Zhang Bin's fist arrived in front of Ning Yu's head. It was only 10 centimeters away from Ning Yu's forehead. Red Demon, quickly attack. At the critical moment, Ning Yu shouted in a low voice. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Zhang Bin was a little stunned. The fist in his hand stopped for a second. However, it was this second that allowed Ning Yu to withdraw from Zhang Bin's attack range. Swish! Chapter 371. Chapter 371. Blood Feud. Damn it. The sudden change caused Zhang Bin's expression to change drastically. With no time to think, he immediately stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. However, he had clearly underestimated the Red Demon Sword's speed. He had just retreated 2 to 3 meters when the Red Demon Sword appeared in front of him. At the critical moment, Zhang Bin's Yuan Qi burst out and turned into a Yuan Qi light sword. It collided with the Red Demon Sword. Qi. The moment the two collided, Zhang Bin's Yuan Qi light sword turned into nothingness and dissipated between heaven and earth. Although the Yuan Qi light sword could not withstand the Red Demon Sword's powerful attack, it bought Zhang Bin time to increase the distance between him and the Red Demon Sword. Humph! Ning Yu, this flying sword is mine. Zhang Bin snorted and pointed his right hand forward. Crack, crack. A few cracking sounds rang out, and then cracks appeared in the void around the Red Demon Sword. Space manipulation. Ning Yu's expression turned cold, and he growled, Red Demon, come back. Swoosh. The Red Demon was not a fool. Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early-stage yin-yang realm, could already control space slightly. It was not wise to fight him head-on. Therefore, the Red Demon controlled the Red Demon Sword and instantly appeared beside Ning Yu. Crack! As soon as the Red Demon arrived at Ning Yu's side, a small whirlpool suddenly appeared in the space where he had been, and the surrounding space constantly collapsed. Looking at the slightly collapsed space, the Red Demon took a deep breath. If he had not listened to Ning Yu and retreated, he would have likely fallen into space. However, the Red Demon was a little puzzled. Zhang Bin was only at the peak of the early-stage yin-yang realm. Why was he so adept at space manipulation? Even a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist might not be as adept at space manipulation as he was. Could it be that Zhang Bin was pretending to be weak and his true cultivation was far beyond the early-stage yin-yang realm? Zhang Bin is indeed at the early-stage yin-yang realm. Ning Yu said in a low voice, It's just that he has a treasure that can control space. Its rank should be. At this point, Ning Yu paused and then said with a solemn expression, It has reached the king rank, a king-grade magic treasure. Hearing this, Hong Mo's heart skipped a beat. His face was filled with disbelief. A king-rank magic treasure that could control space was extremely rare, and it was even rarer than a devour magic treasure. Currently, Ning Yu had a broken soul sword that specialized in devouring soul energy. He also had a Red Demon Sword that could devour both soul energy and vitality. Even so, he didn't have a magic treasure that could control space. Ning Yu, I admit that you are strong, even stronger than the average Primal Core stage warrior. At this moment, Zhang Bin shouted in a low voice, But your cultivation is just at the middle stage of the true martial realm. I can crush you as easily as crushing an ant. Zhang Bin, who doesn't know how to brag. Ning Yu smiled faintly and said, If what you said is true, then why am I still standing here unscathed? Why didn't that strike kill me just now? Don't tell me that you only used 50%. No, only 10% of your strength. You. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Zhang Bin was so angry that his chest was moving up and down, and his face was livid. As the ancestor of the Zhang family, no one dared to speak to him like this except for the higher-ups of the Corpsine sect. Moreover, it was in front of so many people. Glancing at the door of the Zhang family's house, Ningyu shrugged and said, "Zhang Bin, I advise you to call out the hidden yin-yang stage warrior of the Zhang family. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died." "What? There is another yin-yang stage warrior in the Zhang family?" "Impossible. The Zhang family only has one yin-yang stage warrior, and that is the ancestor of the Zhang family, Zhang Bin." "That's right. The second strongest warrior of the Zhang family is only at the late stage of the primal core stage, not even at the peak of the primal core stage." Could it be that Ningyu is lying? The Zhang family was the tyrant of Ivory City. Relying on the strength of the family, they often bullied other families. Of course, the families that were bullied by the Zhang family did not dare to say anything. Now that they saw someone killing in front of the Zhang family's door, they naturally wanted to watch. Therefore, more and more warriors gathered in front of the Zhang family's door, and in the end, the Zhang family was completely surrounded. Little friend Ningyu is right. The Zhang family does have another yin-yang stage warrior. While the crowd was talking, an old man slowly walked out of the crowd and stood in front of Ningyu. The old man pointed at Zhang Bin and scolded, "The other yin-yang stage warrior of the Zhang family is not from the Zhang family. The Sun family's grand elder, Sun Xing." "Sun Xing? What's he doing here? You don't even know this?" Some time ago, the Sun family's ancestor was killed, and various signs indicate that the killer of the Sun family's ancestor was Zhang. Pucci. Before the warrior finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes were wide open as his body fell straight backward. With a plop, the warrior died on the spot. This is what happens to people who spread rumors. After killing the warrior with one blow, Zhang Bin said coldly, "The death of the Sun family's ancestor has nothing to do with the Zhang family. I will say it here, anyone who maliciously slandered the Zhang family will end up the same as him." Voila! Zhang Bin's strong performance caused an uproar at the scene. Everyone stared blankly at the martial artist who was killed by Zhang Bin in one move. They were somewhat dumbfounded. Isn't Zhang Bin too strong? The other party hasn't finished speaking yet. How can he know that the other party is referring to the Zhang family? After a short silence, everyone turned their eyes to the Sun family's grand elder, Sun Xing. They wanted to see if Sun Xing would back down in the face of difficulties or continue speaking. "Zhang Bin, I'm not scared." At first, Sun Xing's eyes flickered, but in the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "If you have the guts, let the Zhang family's yin-yang stage warrior come out. I will confront him face to face." Before coming, Sun Xing had already met Yang Kuan. Moreover, he learned from Yang Kuan that the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Xingjian, was brutally killed by a Yin Corpse sect martial artist. First, the family's ancestor was killed, and then the patriarch was killed. Sun Xing definitely couldn't bear it. What if he couldn't bear it? F***CK him. What the martial artist said just now was right. All the signs indicated that the Zhang family and the Yin Corpse sect had joined forces, and the one who killed the Sun family's ancestor was an yin-yang stage martial artist in the Zhang family's courtyard. Confront him face to face? You think you're qualified? Zhang Bin sneered. "Zhang Bin, I know what you were worried about." Ningyu took a step forward and said with a slight fluctuation of yuan qi, "The yin-yang stage martial artist in the Zhang family's courtyard is a member of the Yin Corpse sect." Yin Corpse sect? The Zhang family colluded with the Yin Corpse sect? That's too scary. It's hard to say. The Zhang family has risen very fast recently, and the younger generation of the family has already dominated Ivory City. Maybe what Ningyu said is right. Sure, you still dare to say it? Aren't you afraid that Zhang Bin will kill you? Humph. Why wouldn't I dare to say it? I am a member of the Sun family, and now the Sun family and the Zhang family are irreconcilable. Swish, 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 swish. Just as everyone was discussing, suddenly, countless figures flew from afar and landed steadily in front of the Zhang family's gate. Seeing the sudden appearance of these figures, Zhang Bin's complexion became very ugly. This was because the lowest cultivation level of these martial artists was at the early primal core stage, and there were even 2 or 3 at the peak primal core stage. Chapter 372. Breaking into the Zhang family. What are they doing here? Could it be that Sun Clan's great elder son Xing called them over? It's hard to say. I've seen a few of them before. They are the elders of the second-rate clans in Ivory City, and their cultivation is around the middle primal core stage. The ancestor of a second-rate family? Take a closer look. The 3 old men in the lead are the patriarchs of the Zhang and Sun families in Ivory City. Their cultivation levels are at the peak of the primal core stage. What? Even they're here? Is Ivory City going to be cleansed? After a brief silence, the crowd burst into exclamations. Many cultivators stared at the figures that had suddenly appeared, their faces filled with shock. Over the years, the strong performance of the Zhang family had left a deep impression in their hearts. Now, a large number of warriors had joined forces to oppose the Zhang family. It had to be said that this was a great shock to them. All right, very good, very good. At this time, Zhang Bin calmed down. He waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Since you're so naive, I'll show you the true strength of the Zhang family today." Swish, 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 swish. Just as Zhang Bin's voice faded, several figures flew out from the Zhang clan's courtyard and appeared in front of the Zhang clan's gate in the blink of an eye. Seeing the sudden appearance of these cultivators, the crowd once again exclaimed in surprise. Because these martial artists were not weak. They could be described as terrifying. 2 peak stage primal core, for late stage primal core, 8 mid stage primal core, and 10 early stage primal core. Just the Zhang family alone had 24 primal core adepts, which was even more than the other clans combined. Am I seeing things? Seeing the formidable strength of the Zhang clan, a true martial realm primary stage martial artist rubbed his eyes and said in a daze, "Are you seeing things? These warriors are all from the Zhang clan." Another martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm was also very shocked, but he did not lose his mind and said in a deep voice, in addition to the 24 origin core stage martial artists, the Zhang family still has no less than 50 true martial realm martial artists. 50. Hearing this, everyone shot their gazes towards the Zhang clan's courtyard. If one didn't take a look, one wouldn't know, but the moment one did, he was shocked. 40 to 50 martial artists lined up neatly in the courtyard of the Zhang family. "Oh ho, what should we do now?" The terrifying strength of the Zhang family had clearly exceeded Sun Xing's expectations. He got closer to Ho Qinshan and whispered, "The power in the middle can contend with the Zhang family, but Zhang Bin and the other Yin-Yang realm martial artists are not easy to deal with." In fact, Ho Qinshan had already realized the severity of the problem when the Zhang family's experts appeared. Although Sun Xing and the patriarchs of the other families weren't a match for the Yin-Yang realm cultivators, they could at least stall one of them. As for the other Yin-Yang martial artist, he and Ning, you would work together to deal with him. The sudden emergence of so many experts from the Zhang family had completely disrupted their plans. He couldn't help but look at Ningyu. "Old Ho, find a way to stall Zhang Bin. I'm going to enter the Zhang family and force that Yin-Yang realm martial artist out myself." Ningyu's expression was solemn. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and dashed forward. Shio! Ningyu's speed was very fast, so fast that besides Ho Qinshan and Zhang Bin, no one else could react. "Where are you going?" Ho Qinshan was indeed a peak early Yin-Yang realm martial artist. The moment Ningyu dashed forward, he gathered all the Yuan Qi in his body to his wrist and punched at Ningyu's chest. What is Zhang Bin doing? Why is he punching the air? Could he have lost his mind? How is that possible? Zhang Bin is a Yin-Yang realm martial artist. He shouldn't have lost his mind. No, look at Ningyu. Following this exclamation, everyone was surprised to find that Ningyu's figure was gradually becoming illusory. Very quickly, Ningyu appeared in front of Zhang Bin. An afterimage. It's an afterimage. Ningyu's speed is so fast. He's just a middle-stage martial artist. Even an early primal core stage martial artist like me couldn't see any clues. Early primal core stage? A middle primal core stage martial artist. don't even know when Ningyu disappeared. At first, everyone was just exclaiming, but in the end, they were all numb. This was because in the face of Zhang Bin's powerful attack, Ningyu did not retreat. Instead, a violent wave of Yuan Qi appeared on his palm, and a backhand punch collided with Zhang Bin's fist. Bang! The two collided, and a low sound rang out. Immediately, Ningyu and Zhang Bin both took a few steps back. Zhang Bin took 3 steps back, and as for Ningyu, he took more than 10 steps back before he could stabilize his body. With this blow, it was clear who was stronger. Zhang Bin, thank you for lending me a hand. Ningyu first smiled at Zhang Bin, then said to Ho Qingshun, Ho Qingshun, stop Zhang Bin and buy me half an hour. Understood. Hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Qingshun gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Sun Xing, leave 2 peak primal core stage martial artists. The rest will deal with the Zhang family's martial artists with you. Swoosh! As his voice fell, Ho Qingshun took a step forward and the Yuan Qi in his body burst out. He was the first to rush toward Zhang Bin. Lu family head, Fong family head, you two, and Ho Qingshun will deal with Zhang Bin together. The rest, follow me. Sun Xing's face was cold as he joined the battle. Damn it! Zhang Bin cursed in his heart. His face was extremely ugly. He did not expect Ningyu to be so cunning as to use this method to enter the Zhang family. Right now, the Yin-Yang stage martial artist from the corpse sect was refining elixirs, and he was at a critical moment. If he was disturbed, the refining of elixirs would fail, and the worst case would be qi deviation. Therefore, no matter what, he had to stop Ningyu. Boom! In front of the Zhang family's gate, the martial artists from both sides finally fought because of Ningyu. The fuse of this battle, Ningyu, had already entered the Zhang family's courtyard. Trespassers of the Zhang family, kill. As soon as Ningyu entered the Zhang family's courtyard, he was besieged by 50 true martial realm martial artists. Red Devil, kill. Ningyu casually threw out the Red Devil sword and held the soul-severing sword in his hand as he shouted. Relatively speaking, Ningyu preferred to use the soul-severing sword. After all, he had used the soul-severing sword for a long time and was more comfortable with it. Unless he was dealing with a peak Yuan Dan or Yin-Yang stage martial artist, Ningyu did not want to use the Red Devil sword. Since Ningyu used the soul-severing sword, the Red Devil naturally had complete control of the Red Devil sword. He transformed into his human form and held the Red Devil sword in his hand as he charged left and right among the true martial realm martial artists. With every thrust of the Red Devil sword, a true martial realm martial artist of the Zhang family was killed. Ningyu, these martial artists are strange. While attacking, the Red Devil said, I also noticed that they are very dull, as if they're controlled by the spirit pill. Ningyu was also very puzzled. These true martial realm martial artists had very weak self-awareness and basically relied on their physical strength to fight their enemies. This kind of performance was similar to a martial artist who had taken a spirit pill. Could it be that the corpse sect has developed a new type of spirit pill, and it can be mass-produced? Thinking of this, Ningyu's face became completely gloomy. Chapter 373. Chapter 373, The Alchemist's Bang. After knocking a true martial realm martial artist back, Ningyu said in a low voice, Hong Mo, ignore them. Hurry up and find the Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Let's split up. Whoever find him first, inform the other party. Got it. Hong Mo's face was also very solemn. He nodded heavily and immediately slashed out a shocking sword ray, forcing all the true martial realm martial artists in front of him to retreat. Then, Hong Mo flew towards the west. Swoosh! As for Ningyu, he ran in the opposite direction of Hong Mo and flashed in another direction. The reason why Ningyu wanted to enter the Zhang family was because he had just contacted Sun Jiangwen. From Sun Jiangwen, he found out that the Zhang family's Yin-Yang realm martial artist was an alchemist. Although his alchemy level was not as good as Sun Jiangwen's, it was still at the advanced stage of the 7th grade. Furthermore, Sun Jiangwen told him that the Zhang family's advanced stage 7th grade alchemist was refining a special kind of elixir. As for what elixir it was, Sun Jingwen did not know because the Zhang family's advanced stage 7th grade alchemist was directly under the command of the alchemist hallmaster. The Zhang family was very big, and there were many restrictions set up inside. These restrictions were all aimed at soul power, so Ningyu did not dare to use too much of his soul power. He could only use it 3 meters away from his body. Relatively speaking, Hong Mo did not have these restrictions. He was a spiritual body, and what he used was not soul power. Therefore, the Zhang family's soul power restriction did not have any effect on him. Crack! 10 minutes later, Hong Mo landed in front of a luxurious room. Ning, feeling the strong aura emanating from the room, Hong Mo wanted to communicate with Ningyu. However, before he could say anything, he forcefully swallowed it back down his throat. Although the aura emanating from the room was stronger, Hong Mo could tell that the martial artist in the room had not reached the yin-yang realm. At most, he was at the peak of the primal core realm. With Hong Mo's strength, he was not afraid of a peak of the primal core realm martial artist. Therefore, Hong Mo dismissed the idea of informing Ningyu. Taking a deep breath, Hong Mo stabbed out with his sword. Suddenly, a strong sword ray appeared and blasted towards the door. Inside the room, Link was refining pills. In order to break through the ivory tower, the Alchemist Hall sent out a total of 3 alchemists. Peak 7th grade alchemist, Sun Jingwen, late 7th grade alchemist, Su Jinfu, middle 7th grade alchemist, Link. In this plan, the 3 of them had different roles, but they were equally important. Sun Jingwen was in charge of refining the body explosion pill. The body explosion pill was the key pill to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower. Su Jinfu was in charge of refining the inner demon pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City. Link, on the other hand, was in charge of refining the improved spirit pill, a level 5 spirit pill. The elixir consumed by the dozens of true martial realm martial artists outside was the 5th grade nether pill refined by Link. With Link's status as a mid-level level 7 alchemist, he could basically mass produce level 5 soul pills. The entire room was filled with hundreds of jade bottles of various sizes, and each jade bottle contained more than 10 nether spirit pills. I've refined a total of 180 bottles of 5th grade dark spirit pills, and I still need the last 20. Not good. After concocting another batch of spirit pills, Link glanced at the jade bottles around him. Just as he was about to relax, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. Kacha! Boom! Not long after Link retreated, he heard a cracking sound, and then a sword blasted towards the place where he had just been, directly causing the ground to cave in. Hiss! Such a powerful attack caused Link to suck in a breath of cold air. At the same time, he was very glad that if he had not retreated in time, he would have been smashed into meat paste. Damn it! What the hell is Zhongbin doing? Link's first thought was not to fight with the Red Devil, but to curse Zhongbin. With Link's soul perception, he could naturally vaguely determine that the Red Devil was in the late Primal Core stage. The late Primal Core stage was not enough to pose a fatal threat to him. The only thing that surprised Link was the red flying sword in the Red Devil's hand. From the red flying sword, he felt a strong and terrifying aura. King level flying sword. Almost instantly, Link judged that the Red Devil's level had reached the King level. The King level flying sword was enough to make Link attach great importance to it. I have to say, you are very brave, very brave. Link's expression was solemn, and he said in a low voice, "Give me the flying sword in your hand, and I can spare your life." Have you lost your mind? The Red Devil seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he said coldly, "With your peak primal core stage cultivation, you want to kill me? Oomph. Whether I can kill you or not, I will only know after I try." With a cold snort, Link suddenly flicked his sleeves, and in an instant, a cold light shot out towards the Red Devil. Facing the cold light that was coming towards him, the Red Devil waved the flying sword in his hand, and the sword light scattered in all directions, instantly shattering the cold light that Link had thrown out. Swoosh! After the attack, the Red Devil did not retreat, but instead moved forward, controlling the red devil sword to attack Link. Haha, Link laughed evilly, and immediately the mid-stage 7th grade soul power in his body poured out, and scrupulously suppressing the red devil. It seems that I have wronged Zhongbin. If it were not for him, I would not have gotten this king-level flying sword. Link seemed to see the king-level flying sword waving at him, and his face was already full of smiles. The next moment, Link's smile froze on his face, and he even revealed a look of horror. Thank you for your soul power. The red devil raised his eyebrows and controlled the red devil sword to erupt with a strong suction force. Under Link's horrified expression, the sword frantically swallowed his soul power. Damn it! Link cursed under his breath, and with a thought, he quickly withdrew the rest of his soul power. However, his reaction was obviously half a beat too slow, causing a third of the mid-stage 7th grade soul power to be swallowed. The strength of the mid-stage 7th grade soul power is not bad. Sticking out his tongue and licking his lips, the red devil planned to tell Ningyu this good news. Right now, Ningyu's soul power was at the mid-stage 5th grade soul power. If he could completely devour the soul power of the warrior in front of him, he could at least advance to the late-stage 5th grade soul power, or even the peak of 5th grade soul power. In any case, the warrior in front of him was from the Enchantment sect, so it would be a waste not to devour his soul power. A devouring flying sword. This flying sword is actually a devouring flying sword. Link's heart was bleeding. Due to his carelessness, he had instantly lost a third of his soul power. He made up his mind that no matter what, he must obtain this red flying sword. You have completely angered me. There is only one ending for those who anger me. Taking a step back, Link waved his hand and put the jade bottle on the ground into his storage bag. Then, he coldly said, "That is death." The moment the word death fell, Link raised his speed to the limit and rushed towards the red devil. How can you be my opponent after losing a third of your soul power? Originally, the red devil wanted to tell this news to Ningyu, but now he changed his mind. He planned to first kill the warrior in front of him and then devour his soul power. Chapter 374. Linkhumph. Even if I don't use my soul power, I can easily kill you. Link appeared beside the red devil in the blink of an eye. He snorted coldly and then punched with a violent gust of wind. It landed squarely on the red devil's chest. After image. As soon as Link's fist came into contact with the red devil's body, he realized that something was wrong. This was because his fist had actually pierced through the red devil's chest. Hee, your speed isn't very fast either. At the same time, the red devil, who had already appeared behind Link, smiled and stabbed the flying sword in his hand at Link's back. Puff! As the red devil sword was extremely fast, Link didn't have time to react. The sound of the flying sword stabbing into the flesh rang out in the room. The red devil didn't plan to stop after his attack. He pulled out the red devil sword and swept it at Link's neck. Hit the snake where it hurts, don't hold back. The red devil knew that the people of the Corpsine sect were all extremely cunning. If they were given a chance, they might fail miserably. Therefore, the red devil decided to kill the warrior in front of him first. Damn it! At the critical moment, Link cursed and hurriedly lowered his head. Swish! Fortunately, Link dodged in time. Otherwise, the red devil's sword would have separated his head from his body. Run! Although he had dodged the red devil's fatal blow, Link knew that he was no match for the red devil. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to escape. Escape as soon as possible. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. This sentence was the true portrayal of Link's heart at this moment. However, how could the red devil give him the chance to escape? In the next moment, the red devil's figure flashed and directly entered the red devil's sword, fusing with it. What? You're a spirit body. Seeing the red devil fuse with the flying sword, Link's eyes widened and his face was filled with confusion. He knew that the red flying sword was a king-level magic treasure, but he didn't expect the man in red to be a spirit body. The spirit body of a king-level flying sword was far from what he could match. At this moment, Link felt a little regretful. He regretted not escaping immediately. If he had run away immediately, he would still have had a chance of survival. But now, his chances of survival were extremely slim. Even if I die, I'll drag someone down with me. Link gritted his teeth and took out his golden core. Buzz! Link's golden core was not very big. It was only the size of fist. However, his golden core contained violent yuan qi, and there were even traces of soul power fluctuations. Go! With a low grunt, Link controlled the golden core to attack the Red Devil. Just in time, faced with the approaching golden core, the Red Fiend was delighted instead of angry. He suddenly sped up, causing the Red Fiend sword to stab at Link's golden core. Poochie! The speed of the Red Demon sword was very fast. It seemed to reach Link's golden elixir in an instant and ruthlessly stabbed into it. Devour! As soon as the Red Fiend sword pierced into Link's golden core, the Red Fiend controlled it to unleash a powerful, devouring force. It frantically devoured Link's essence, energy, and weak soul power. Just you wait. I'll take back everything that I've lost in a while. Link seized the opportunity when the Red Demon's sword devoured the golden core and immediately leaped up. He did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. This was a huge calamity for Link. If he could survive it, he could even try to advance to the Yin-Yang realm. Of course, abandoning the golden core would at least reduce Link's strength by several times. It could be said that, apart from his speed, even an early-stage Khanate realm warrior could easily kill him in terms of martial arts. Ningyu, come here quickly. There's a mid-stage, 7th grade alchemist here. Seeing Link escape, the Red Fiend cursed under his breath and immediately informed Ningyu. He was controlling the Red Demon's sword to devour the yuan qi in the golden core, so he naturally had no time to care about Link. The Red Fiend knew that he could not let Link escape. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Bam! However, just as the Red Fiend was worrying about Link's escape, a crisp voice sounded from outside the door. Immediately after, a figure fell into the room and landed heavily on the ground. Ningyu! The Red Fiend looked at the twitching figure on the ground and then at the martial artist who slowly appeared at the door. He said in surprise, "How did you get here so fast?" "I searched that direction and didn't find any Yin-Yang realm martial artists, so I rushed over here." After entering the room, Ningyu shrugged, then pointed at Link on the ground and said, "I just happened to run into this injured corpse insect martial artist. Since I ran into him, only death awaits him. Don't kill me. I can tell you the corpse insect's plan. I can tell you the whole plan." After losing his golden core, his soul force was devoured by a third, and now he was seriously injured by Ningyu. Link was trembling. In the face of death, he gave up his dignity and began to beg for mercy. "I already know the corpse insect's plan. There's no need for you to tell me," Ningyu said lightly. "No, there's one thing you definitely don't know. In the whole plan, only 3 people know about it. One is me, and the other is the Alchemist Temple Master, and the other one is Su Jinfu." Link said hurriedly, "Who is Su Jinfu?" Ningyu frowned. Su Jinfu is a 7th grade alchemist at the late stage. He is ranked high in the Alchemist Temple. Link didn't dare to neglect and said, "The Alchemist Temple Master asked Su Jinfu to refine the demons of Heart Pill in order to control the higher-ups of Ivory City." Although the plan to attack Ivory City is relatively perfect, it is very likely that there will be some mistakes, so the Alchemist Temple Master has made 2 plans. It will be great if the attack succeeds, but if it fails, the demons of Heart Pill refined by Su Jinfu will play a vital role. The Alchemist Temple Master wants to use the demons of Heart Pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City and wait for an opportunity to launch a second sneak attack. Hiss! Hearing Link's words, Ningyu couldn't help but gasp. Not to mention whether what Link said was true or not, the idea itself was crazy. No matter whether it succeeded or not, the corpse insect would be the biggest winner. It seems that the 7th grade alchemist Sun Jiangwen mentioned is Su Jinfu. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said again, "Do you know where Su Jinfu is? Why didn't I find him in the Zhang family? You must promise to let me live. Otherwise, I won't tell you. Link chose to keep silent. You have no right to bargain. Ningyu's face turned cold, and the primordial chi in his body poured out and gathered on his wrist. Taking a step forward, Ningyu raised his palm and was about to chop off Link's head. I'll tell you. Chapter 375. His cultivation base skyrocketed. Tell me, where's the Zhang family's forbidden area? Ningyu asked again. This time, Link did not answer directly. Instead, he shook his head and said, only Zhangbin knows where the Zhang family's forbidden area is. I don't know. Moreover, even if you can find the Zhang family's forbidden area, you won't be able to enter. That's because the key to the forbidden area is in Zhangbin's hands. Noisy. As soon as Link finished speaking, Ningyu gripped the soul-severing sword in his hand and charged forward with both feet on the ground. Puchi. The soul-severing sword gradually enlarged in Link's eyes, and in the end, it pierced right into his heart. The sound of a flying sword piercing into flesh rang out. Link's eyes widened, and then his eyes rolled back as he lost consciousness. Phew! At this moment, the Red Devil let out a long breath and rushed out from the Red Devil's sword. Looking at the dead Link, the Red Devil frowned and said, Ningyu, I was still thinking of devouring his mid-7th grade soul power. If you kill him, won't your soul power dissipate as well? Hee, I won't kill him so easily. With a faint smile, Ningyu said, if I'm not wrong, his soul power is now completely holed up in his sea of consciousness, trying to deceive everyone. That's not good. Hearing this, the Red Devil's expression changed. Once again, he fused with the Red Devil's sword and entered Link's sea of consciousness. Oh, he's really hiding here. After entering Link's sea of consciousness, the Red Devil immediately discovered the soul power that was holed up in a corner. He was very familiar with his soul power. It was the remaining 2/3 of Link's soul power. Devour. With a low roar, the Red Devil unleashed the Red Devil sword's devouring power to the extreme, frantically devouring Link's remaining soul power. Buzz buzz. The Red Devil sword's devouring power was indeed powerful. In a short span of 10 minutes, it had completely devoured the remaining soul power of Link. Puchi. Then, the Red Devil flew out of Link's mind and transformed into a human. Not bad. It's a 7th grade middle stage soul power. If I devour it, my soul power will likely advance to the 5th grade middle stage. Ningyu nodded in satisfaction as he felt the pure soul power within the Red Demon Sword. Ningyu, why don't you devour the soul force in the Red Fiend Sword first? I'll protect you, said the Red Fiend. It will take me about 30 minutes to devour all these souls. After thinking about it, Ningyu said, go out and help Ho Qingxun and the others. I'm afraid they won't be able to hold on for 2 hours. But the Red Devil still wanted to say something, but seeing Ningyu's expression, he didn't say anything in the end. Instead, his figure flashed as he rushed towards the Zhang family's door. Suck. After the Red Fiend disappeared, Ningyu looked at the Red Fiend sword in his hand, took a deep breath, and sat down cross-legged. Ningyu didn't waste any time. He directly sent half of his soul power into the Red Fiend sword and began to devour the pure soul power within. Link was a level 7 intermediate stage alchemist, and the strength of his soul power had reached level 7 intermediate stage. With the strength of Ningyu's soul power of level 5 intermediate stage, if he completely devoured Link's soul power, his soul power would easily advance to level 5 advanced stage. The reason why Ningyu only used half of his soul power into the Red Fiend sword was because he wanted to refine the Red Spirit Fruit. After killing Gue Air, Ningyu found 2 Crimson Spirit Fruits from Gue Air's storage pouch. The Red Spirit Fruit was a level 7 pinnacle stage fruit. It could allow a primal core stage warrior to advance by 1 stage unconditionally. Ningyu was in the true martial realm. He was very much looking forward to refining the Red Spirit Fruit to see what level he could advance to. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu took out a Red Spirit Fruit and put it in his mouth. Swish! The Red Spirit Fruit was indeed a level 7 pinnacle stage fruit. It melted in his mouth. Traces of the crimson spirit fruit's medicinal liquid flowed from his throat into Ningyu's stomach, giving Ningyu an extremely comfortable feeling. This feeling was as if he was bathing in a rich essence chi. Enter my sea of knowledge. In the next moment, Ningyu operated the spiritual art and transferred the medicinal liquid of the red spirit fruit into his sea of knowledge. In his sea of knowledge, the four illusory golden dawn saw the red spirit fruit's medicinal liquid. They were like hungry wolves that had encountered a small white rabbit. Bang, 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 bang. About 10 minutes later, muffled sounds rang out. Late-stage true martial realm. Sinking his mind into his sea of knowledge, Ningyu saw the transformation of the four illusory golden dawn. His mouth was agape, revealing a look of disbelief. Originally, he thought that although a red spirit fruit could allow him to advance to late-stage true martial realm, it would not be so easy. In just 10 minutes, he had advanced from the true martial realm middle stage to late-stage true martial realm. This speed was really terrifying. Why don't I swallow the last red spirit fruit into my stomach? At this moment, a bold idea emerged in Ningyu's mind. If a red spirit fruit could allow him to advance to late-stage true martial realm, then 2 red spirit fruits could very likely allow him to advance to peak true martial realm. No, I have just advanced to late-stage true martial realm, and my cultivation has not stabilized. I should wait for a while before consuming the last red spirit fruit. Ningyu resisted the strong temptation of advancing his cultivation and did not take out the second red spirit fruit. Crack! Suddenly, a clear cracking sound rang out. Hearing this cracking sound, Ningyu's eyes widened again, and his mouth opened wide enough to fit a fist. Swoosh! A cold light swept out from the red demon's sword and instantly entered Ningyu's body. Late-stage 5th grade soul force? The cold light that had entered Ningyu's body was none other than soul force. To be precise, it was late-stage 5th grade soul force. In other words, Ningyu's soul force had advanced to late-stage 5th grade soul force. In a short period of time, Ningyu's soul force had advanced to late-stage 5th grade soul force, and his cultivation had advanced to late-stage true martial realm. Even the most heaven-defying genius of the Great Xia Kingdom could not achieve such a speed of advancement. Solitaire, with his soul force and cultivation advancing to late-stage 5th grade soul force, Ningyu immediately waved the red demon sword and slashed out a sword wave. Chi-chi-chi. The sword wave slashed out at lightning speed, and the friction with the air produced a sizzling sound. Boom! In the next moment, the sword wave suddenly exploded, and the aftermath of the explosion spread out in all directions. Such a powerful explosion caused Ningyu to reveal a look of ecstasy. With my current strength, I should be able to contend with early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists. If I use my trump card, I can even kill them. Keeping the red demon's sword, Ningyu went straight to Link's side and extended his palm to feel Link's body. After a while, Ningyu retracted his palm. In his hand, there was a storage bag and a token that represented his identity. Ningyu first threw the token into the storage ring, and then his soul force quietly entered the storage bag. So many ghost pills. As soon as his soul force entered the storage bag, Ningyu found more than 100 jade bottles in the storage bag. Chapter 376. Submit to me so many ghost pills. It seems that the Corpse Ean sect not only wants to control the higher-ups of Ivory City, but also wants to build an underground force in Ivory City. Link said that the Alchemist Hall had sent 3 alchemists this time. Among them, Sun Jingwen refined the body explosion pill in order to break through the entrance of the Ivory Tower. Su Jinfu was responsible for refining the inner demon pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City. It was very likely that Link wanted to build an underground force in Ivory City by refining this special ghost pill, because only in this way, when the Corpse Ean sect attacked Ivory City for the second time, they could cooperate with each other and easily break through Ivory City. No, I must find Su Jinfu as soon as possible. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu put the storage bag into his storage ring, and then flew toward the Zhang family's door. If he wanted to find Su Jinfu, he must find the Zhang family's forbidden area, which was only known by Zhang Bin, and the key to the forbidden area was in Zhang Bin's hands. In addition, the Red Devil and Ho Qingchun were fighting with Zhang Bin, so it was reasonable for Ningyu to go and help. Pucci. At the same time, in front of the Zhang family's door, Zhang Bin seized a flaw in Ho Qingchun's defense and punched him in the chest. The intense pain from his chest caused Ho Qingchun to feel a sweetness in his throat as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Humph! I have already said that a group of trash like you is no match for me. After defeating Ho Qingchun, Zhang Bin snorted coldly and was about to enter the Zhang family. In Zhang Bin's view, Su Jinfu's safety could not be lost. Although he didn't know what kind of pill Su Jinfu was refining, he could tell from Su Jinfu's expression that it must be very important. Swish! However, just as Zhang Bin moved his feet, a red afterimage appeared in the air and blocked his path. You also want to stop me? Looking at the martial artist in red who suddenly appeared in front of him, Zhang Bin's face suddenly became gloomy, and he said coldly, Even Ho Qingchun, who is at the early stage of Yin-Yang realm, is no match for me, and you are no match for me. As soon as the word no fell, Zhang Bin's eyes became cold, and as he waved his sleeve, a sharp cold light appeared and attacked the martial artist in red in front of him. Red Demon Slash. The man in red was none other than the Red Fiend. In the beginning, Ho Qingchun and the two peak primal core stage warriors dealt with Zhang Bin. Hong Mo did not join the battle, but worked with Sun Xing and the others to encircle the remaining Zhang family warriors. Who would have thought that Ho Qingchun and the others would not be able to persist for too long before they were defeated? Helpless, the Red Fiend could only brace himself to resist Zhang Bin. The Red Fiend knew that Ningyu was devouring the soul force of the Zhang family. At this time, he must not be disturbed, or the consequences would be unimaginable. Hong Mo's eyes turned cold as a small red flying sword suddenly appeared in his hand. He quickly slashed out a terrifying sword beam. Chi-chi! The sword light and the cold light collided as a chi-chi sound rang out. Hong Mo's expression changed as he stomped on the ground and retreated, because at the moment when the two collided, the sword ray that he sent out was dispersed, and Zhang Bin's cold ray was still attacking him vigorously. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, Hong Mo's expression turned ugly. The small red flying sword was not the Red Fiend's original body. It was just an illusion. Now that the Red Fiend was with Ningyu, without the support of the Red Fiend, the power of his sword ray would be reduced by at least half. Gritting his teeth, the Red Fiend waved the small flying sword in his hand again and continuously slashed out sword rays, continuously colliding with Zhang Bin's cold ray. Chi-chi, chi-chi-chi. Zhang Bin was indeed a peak early Yin-Yang stage warrior. The cold ray that he attacked was so powerful that it was only after the Red Fiend slashed out the 10th sword ray that it completely dispersed. Hee, you have to use all your strength to block a casual attack of mine. What do you have to fight me with? Zhang Bin said with a smile. Is that so? Just as Zhang Bin finished his sentence, a voice came from the courtyard of the Zhang family. As the voice rang out, a slightly thin figure slowly walked out from the courtyard. Zhang Bin, you said that Hong Mo does not have the ability to fight you. What if I join in? The thin figure came to stand beside Hong Mo and smiled at Zhang Bin. Ningyu. Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Zhang Bin was slightly startled at first, but then he revealed a happy expression. Originally, he was worried that Su Jinfu would be in danger. Now that he saw Ningyu, he was relieved. Su Jinfu was in the forbidden area. If Ningyu entered the Zhang family, he would definitely not be able to find Su Jinfu. If you had escaped from the Zhang family, I would not have been able to do anything to you. Since you have delivered yourself to me, I can only kill you. Zhang Bin's lips curled up as he said gloomily, You want to kill me? That depends on whether you have the ability or not. With a cold smile, Ningyu flicked his sleeve, and suddenly, a token flew toward Zhang Bin. Ha! Catching the token, Zhang Bin's face instantly turned gloomy. On the token, There were two large blood-red words, Link. Crack, crack. Zhangbin clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. He said gloomily, "Where did you get this token?" Shrugging, Ningyu said, "Where else could I get it from? Of course, it's from the Zhang family. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. The owner of this token has already been killed by me. Now, not even a hair is left." Zhangbin's chest heaved up and down. He was on the verge of exploding in anger. Although Link was not as good as Su Jinfu, he was still a 7th grade mid-stage alchemist. His status in the Corpsine sect was very high. Now that Link had died in the Zhang family, how could he explain it to the Alchemist Temple Lord? Even if the Alchemist Temple Lord was willing to listen to his explanation, Link's friend would not let him go. The only thing he could do now was to capture Ningyu and push all the blame onto Ningyu. Only then would he have a chance to survive. Hong Imo, you go deal with the rest of the Zhang family's experts. As for Zhangbin, leave him to me. Ningyu waved his hand and said to Hong Imo, ever since his martial arts cultivation and soul power had both advanced to the 5th grade late stage, Ningyu's strength had made great progress. He could fight and even kill an early stage, Yin-Yang stage martial artist. Moreover, the Zhang family's experts were not just for show. The two peak primal core stage martial artists each had the combat power of a half-step Yin-Yang stage martial artist. If not for the slight advantage in numbers, Sun Xing and the others would not have been able to hold on. Then you be careful. Hong Imo knew that he would only cause trouble for Ningyu if he stayed, so he did not hesitate and directly joined the battle on Sun Xing's side. Ho Qingxin and the two peak primal core stage martial artists had basically lost their combat power due to Zhangbin's heavy attacks. They could only pray that Ningyu would win. Ningyu, I originally wanted to kill you, but now I've changed my mind. At this critical moment, Zhangbin was surprisingly calm, so calm that it was somewhat scary. He raised his eyebrows and said lightly, I'll give you a chance. Obediently surrender to me, and I can still spare your life. Zhangbin, don't tell me you've lost your mind. Chapter 377. Zhangbin, you want me to submit to you? Are you worthy? When Ningyu's arrogant words fell, all the cultivators in the area were dumbfounded. Everyone looked at Ningyu in astonishment. The expressions on their faces were very interesting. Gulp. Someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The originally quiet area gradually became noisy. Isn't Ningyu a little too bold? I think so too. The opponent is Zhangbin, a martial artist at the peak of the early Yin-Yang realm. Does Ningyu think he could defeat Zhangbin? Defeat Zhangbin? Don't talk nonsense. If Ningyu can defeat Zhangbin, I'll twist my head off and let you use it as a chamber pot. One is in the true martial realm, and the other is in the Yin-Yang realm. The difference in strength between the two is like heaven and earth. There is no comparison at all. This time, all the martial artists had the same thought. They all thought that Ningyu would lose without a doubt. There was no possibility of him winning. A true martial realm martial artist defeated a Yin-Yang realm martial artist? It could only exist in one's imagination. Reality was reality. Soon, I'll let you know if I'm worthy or not. Zhangbin's eyes flashed. He raised his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. Not good. The moment Zhangbin raised his right hand, Ningyu realized something was wrong and immediately retreated backward. Kacha! Sure enough, as soon as Ningyu disappeared, the space where he had been standing suddenly exploded, revealing a small whirlpool. A king-grade spatial magic treasure really isn't simple. With a serious look in his eyes, Ningyu knew that he had to give it his all. Otherwise, he might fail miserably. Zhangbin, who was at the peak of the early Yin-Yang realm, was not scary. What was scary was a magic treasure that could control space. It could be said that as long as Zhangbin had sufficient Yuan Qi and soul force, he could use spatial treasures without fear. I have to think of a way. While shuttling back and forth in this area, Ningyu's mind was spinning rapidly, thinking of countermeasures. I already said that Ningyu is not Zhangbin's opponent. You still don't believe me? Look, Ningyu is like a stray dog now. Ningyu's cultivation is too low. He is only in the true martial realm. If he were to advance to the Yuan Dan realm, he might be able to contend with Zhang Bin. After all, he is a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred Courtyard. Origin Core Stage? You're overestimating Ningyu too much. In my opinion, even if he advanced to the Origin Core Stage, it would still be impossible for him to be Zhang Bin's match. Don't be too sure. Let's wait and see. No one was optimistic about Ningyu in the first place. Now that Ningyu was at a complete disadvantage, everyone was even more pessimistic about Ningyu. Although there were a few cultivators who spoke up for Ningyu, they were quickly drowned in the sea of saliva from the crowd. Zhang Bin, there are too many people here. We can't display our full strength. Let's go to the Zhang family and fight. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, Ningyu's heart moved. While fleeing towards the Zhang family, he shouted to Zhang Bin in a low voice, "If you have the guts, come over here." Swoosh! Ningyu's speed was very fast. Almost in an instant, he disappeared from everyone's sight and entered the Zhang family. Seeing Ningyu enter the Zhang family, Zhang Bin was slightly surprised. Without thinking too much, he rose from the ground and chased after him. In Zhang Bin's heart, he firmly believed that in the face of absolute strength, any tricks and schemes were useless. Ningyu escaped. He can't escape. I guess in less than 10 minutes, Zhang Bin will kill him. TSK. Ningyu is a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred Courtyard. If he is killed here, Danwu College will definitely not let this matter go. So what if they won't let this matter go? Today, Ningyu broke into the Zhang family first. He was unreasonable first. Zhang Bin has already given Danwu College enough face by keeping him alive until now. Once Zhang Bin is free, Ho Qingshun and the rest will also be eliminated. Seeing Ningyu and Zhang Bin fly into the Zhang family, everyone began to discuss again. However, they only talked about it and did not dare to follow them into the Zhang family. In Ivory City, martial artists who trespassed into the Zhang family without permission had never had a good ending. In the past, there was a mid-primal core martial artist who entered the Zhang family regardless of the obstruction. At that time, he was beheaded by the Zhang family and hung on the gate of Ivory City for 3 days and 3 nights. Since then, no one had ever dared to trespass into the Zhang family. Of course, today's Ningyu is an exception. Swoosh! In the courtyard of the Zhang family, Ningyu stopped in place with a swoosh. At the same time, Ningyu cupped his fists and stared at Zhang Bin with interest. Being stared at by Ningyu, Zhang Bin felt a little numb all over his body. It felt like he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. Zhang Bin, I know you have a magical item that can control space. As long as you take it out, I will promise to surrender to you, Ningyu said. Are you lying to a child? Zhang Bin said coldly. No matter what you say today, I will not be fooled by you. Then, Zhang Bin quickly raised his hands and kept moving in front of him. Crack, crack, crack. Every time Zhang Bin's fingers moved, the space around Ningyu would explode once. Damn it! Cursing, Ningyu quietly put the quenching pill furnace in his cuff. Then, with the primal chi under his feet, he rushed toward Zhang Bin at an extremely shocking speed. Ningyu's movements were extremely covert, so covert that Zhang Bin did not notice any clues. He thought that Ningyu was going to fight him to the death, so his fingers moved even faster. Zhang Bin, have a taste of Gui Air's stuff. In the next moment, the corner of Ningyu's mouth rose. With a flick of his cuff, the quenching pill furnace flew out and rushed toward Zhang Bin. Pill furnace? Looking at the pill furnace that was approaching him, Zhang Bin frowned slightly, very puzzled. Ningyu was about to be killed. How could he still have the guts to fight back? Fighting back was one thing, but not only did he not use force, but he also threw away the pill furnace. Not good. However, just as Zhang Bin was about to mock Ningyu, his expression changed greatly. Boom! In an instant, the quenching pill furnace exploded in front of him. Swoosh! Swoosh! The pill furnace exploded, and suddenly, 2 cold lights swept out, rushing toward Zhang Bin at an extremely shocking speed. Dead Spirit Chi. The moment the cold lights flew out, Zhang Bin realized that he had been careless. He had come into contact with Gui Air from the Ghost Talon Palace, and knew that Guayer had 2 cold lights of dead spirit chi. Now that Guayer was killed, there was a high possibility that his cold lights of dead spirit chi had fallen into the hands of Ningyu. Zhang Bin, don't you think it's a little too late to react now? While Zhang Bin was still in a daze, 2 cold beams of dead spirit chi had already arrived in front of his body. Moreover, under his terrified expression, 1 beam of dead spirit chi blasted his right arm, and the other beam of dead spirit chi blasted his chest. Chi. The dead spirit chi had an extremely strong corrosive power. As soon as it touched Zhang Bin's arm, the skin on Zhang Bin's arm began to sizzle. Ningyu, you will die a horrible death. Zhang Bin cursed angrily. He quickly raised his left hand, and with a crack, he chopped off his right arm. Chapter 378. Crippling Solitaire. I'll take your life while you're down. Just as Zhang Bin was flustered by the cold aura in his chest, Ning Yu's eyes narrowed. He immediately took out the red demon sword and waved it repeatedly. In an instant, a shocking sword wave swept out from the red demon sword and rushed toward Zhang Bin. Chi. The sword wave was so fast that Zhang Bin didn't even have time to react before the sword wave arrived in front of him. Then, the sword wave gradually expanded in Zhang Bin's pupils, and without any deviation, it just happened to slash his chest. Bang! The huge force coming from his chest made Zhang Bin's throat taste sweet, and he spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. With a plop, Zhang Bin fell heavily to the ground. At the same time, the cold aura in Zhang Bin's chest entered his body and wreaked havoc in his internal organs. A miserable scream came out, and Zhang Bin's face was distorted to the extreme. Zhang Bin, I'll give you a chance. Seeing that Zhang Bin had basically lost the ability to fight, Ningyu waved his hand and directly retrieved the quenching furnace and put it into his storage ring. Holding the red demon's sword in his hand, Ningyu slowly walked toward Zhang Bin. Tap, tap, tap. Ningyu walked very slowly, and every step he took was heavy on the ground. Every sound left a trace of a mark in Zhang Bin's heart. In the end, Zhang Bin almost went crazy. Whoosh! 3 minutes later, Ningyu came to Zhang Bin's side. He swung the red demon's sword in his hand and placed it on Zhang Bin's neck. Tell me where the Zhang family's forbidden area is, and I can spare your life. You want me to tell you where the Zhang family's forbidden area is? Dream on. Although he was on the verge of going crazy, there was always a voice in Zhang Bin's mind warning him not to betray Su Jinfu and not to offend the corpse sect. If he offended Ningyu, the worst that could happen was death, but if he offended the corpse sect, they would make his life worse than death. You don't want to tell me? With a smirk, Ningyu exerted a little force with the red demon sword in his hand and cut open the skin on Zhang Bin's neck. Streams of blood flowed down Zhang Bin's neck and dripped onto the red demon sword. Zhang Bin's blood had just dripped onto the red demon sword when it evaporated into nothingness, as if it had dripped onto a hot, soldering iron. Humph! Even if you kill me, I won't tell you. The blood flowing from his neck made Zhang Bin sober up. After he sobered up, he was even more determined to not betray Su Jinfu and the corpse sect. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Hearing Zhang Bin's words, Ningyu withdrew the red demon sword and kicked Zhang Bin out of the Zhang family's courtyard. Outside the gates of the Zhang family, with the addition of the Red Fiend, Sun Xing and the others quickly gained the upper hand. However, after losing Ho Qingxin and 2 peak primal core stage practitioners, Sun Xing and the rest could only gain the upper hand and were unable to wipe out all the Zhang family practitioners in one fell swoop. Both sides fought for 5 minutes, and there were casualties on both sides. At this moment, a figure flew out of the Zhang family's courtyard, attracting everyone's attention. It's Zhang Bin. A sharp-eyed martial artist recognized the identity of the martial artist who flew out at a glance. I said that Zhang Bin wouldn't need 10 minutes to defeat Ningyu. Only 5 minutes have passed. Another martial artist laughed evilly. Yes, but to be able to last 5 minutes in the hands of Zhang Bin, Ningyu is also good enough. What? However, Before this martial artist could finish a sentence, his mouth opened slightly, and an incredulous expression appeared on his face. Bang! With a loud bang, Zhang Bin fell to the ground like a dead dog. Silence. Silence. Deathly silence. The sudden change caused all the martial artists present to widen their eyes and open their mouths slightly. Their pupils revealed a look of horror. What the hell was going on? Why was Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early yin-yang stage, lying on the ground like a dead dog? Where was Ningyu? And where was Ningyu? A series of questions appeared on everyone's faces. Sha. Subsequently, a figure slowly walked out of the Zhang family's courtyard. Looking at the figure that walked out, everyone's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. The expressions on their faces were as interesting as it could be. He is Ningyu. Not long after, a martial artist in the true martial realm stared at Ningyu and hesitated. It's Ningyu. Next to the martial artist in the true martial realm, a martial artist in the primal core stage swallowed his saliva and said, "It's actually Ningyu. Isn't this too unbelievable? Could it be that Ningyu defeated Zhang Bin? I don't believe it. This is impossible. I don't believe it either. It can't be Ningyu." All the martial artists around shook their heads and unanimously denied that the martial artist who walked out of the Zhang family was Ningyu. They thought that this martial artist only looked a little like Ningyu. However, what Ningyu said next made them directly dumbfounded. They saw Ningyu standing in front of Zhang Bin and stepping on his head. His eyes swept across the Zhang family's martial artists and coldly said, "Whoever says where the Zhang family's forbidden area is, I can spare his life." Voila! With Ningyu's actions and Ningyu's words, everyone finally concluded that the martial artist in front of them was Ningyu. It's really Ningyu. And he even defeated Zhang Bin. Who just said that if Ningyu defeated Zhang Bin, he would turn his head and let me use it as a chamber pot? I don't need a chamber pot. I just need a bench. This world is too crazy. Ningyu, who is in the middle stage of the true martial realm, can actually defeat Zhang Bin, who is in the early stage of the yin-yang realm. You're out of your mind. Ningyu is not in the middle stage of the true martial realm, but in the late stage of the true martial realm. Following the last martial artist's finger, everyone looked at Ningyu. Feeling the aura exuding from Ningyu's body, they still felt a little incredulous. After all, the late stage of the true martial realm was still far from the early stage of the yin-yang realm. Since none of you are willing to say, so be it, I will start with Zhang Bin. Shrugging, Ningyu slightly exerted force on his ankle and pressed down on Zhang Bin's head. Shua! Seeing Ningyu's action, the Zhang family's martial artists turned their eyes to the only two peak primal core martial artists, hoping that they could make a decision. Being stared at by everyone, Zhang Hao and Zhang Jian's faces were gloomy. They indeed knew where the Zhang family's forbidden area was, but they did not dare to say it, because they were afraid of offending the Corpsine sect. As the higher-ups of the Zhang family, they were very clear about the strength of the Corpsine sect. It was because they understood the strength of the Corpsine sect that they did not dare to tell Ningyu where the Zhang family forbidden area was, because the late-stage 7th grade alchemist of the Corpsine sect, Su Jinfu, was in the Zhang family's forbidden area. Not going to say it. Ningyu raised his foot and suddenly stepped on Zhang Bin's left arm. Kacha! A crisp sound rang out, and immediately, Zhang Bin's left arm was directly broken. At this time, Zhang Bin was fighting with the dead spirit qi in his body. Even though his arm was in severe pain, he could not cry out. Chapter 379. Chapter 379 Inch Ha? Seeing that the two peak primal core warriors of the Zhang family were still unmoved, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said lightly, "Don't think that I won't dare to do anything to Zhang Bin if you don't say anything. Zhang Bin colluded with the corpse sect. Even if I kill him here, no one will say anything. Ningyu, you have to be responsible for what you said." At this moment, Zhang Jian coldly snorted and said gloomily, "You said that the Zhang family colluded with the corpse sect. What evidence do you have?" "Evidence? You asked me for evidence?" Pointing to his nose, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "Who do you think you are? I'm not a thing. No, I'm a thing, I'm not a thing. Zhang Jian was so angry that he couldn't even speak clearly. Zhang Jian coldly said, "You don't have evidence to say that the Zhang family colluded with the corpse sect. In my opinion, the one who colluded with the corpse sect is you." Swish! Zhang Jian's words set off a great uproar in this area. Ning Yu and the Zhang family both insisted on their own words, saying that the other party colluded with the corpse sect. Who was speaking the truth? I guess the Zhang family colluded with the corpse sect. Recently, the Zhang family's strength has been expanding too fast. It doesn't make sense. I also think it's the Zhang family. The strength of the Zhang family's younger generation is also very strong. They almost dominate Ivory City. You guys are too arbitrary. In my opinion, the one who colluded with the corpse sect is Ningyu. Ningyu? Impossible. He is a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College. Danwu College has already found out that he colluded with the corpse sect. Hee, as the saying goes, you can't know a person's heart from his face. Think about it. If Ningyu didn't collude with the corpse sect, how could he be so strong? Even Zhang Bin, who is at the peak of the early Yinyang realm, is not his opponent. Hearing the words coming from all around, Ningyu's face became a little gloomy. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and came up with a countermeasure. The next moment, Ningyu kicked Zhang Bin's body and kicked him in front of Zhang Jian. Looking at Zhang Bin's ankle, Zhang Jian's face turned ugly. He quickly looked down to check on Zhang Bin's condition. Xiao. However, just as Zhang Jian lowered his head, Ningyu's figure flashed and appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. Ningyu, are you trying to silence me? Zhang Jian was indeed a peak primal core martial artist. He immediately raised his head and berated, "You colluded with the people of the corpse sect to harm the Zhang family. Even if you report this to the capital, you will not be in the right." Ha ha ha. Ningyu let out a wild laugh. Then his expression changed, and he coldly said, "You want to reason with me? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror?" A dog of the corpse sect is not qualified to reason with me. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu raised his right foot and kicked Zhang Jian's abdomen. The huge force from his abdomen directly twisted Zhang Jian's face, and he fell to the ground. Swish! After defeating Zhang Jian with one blow, Ningyu quickly swung the red devil sword in his hand and placed it on Zhang Hao's neck. "Take me to the Zhang family's forbidden area." Ningyu slightly exerted force in his palm, and the red devil sword made a slight mark on Zhang Hao's neck. Drops of blood dripped on the red devil sword, making a sizzling sound. "Ningyu, you colluded with the corpse sect. You are destined to have a bad end." Zhang Hao is indeed a bit tough. Even with the red devil sword on his neck, his expression still did not change. It seems that Ningyu really colluded with the corpse sect. Otherwise, it would not be like this. That's right. Ningyu colluded with the corpse sect. Let's leave quickly so that we won't be implicated. Yes, let's leave quickly. It would be best if we could leave Ivory City. Leave? Go where? If I'm not wrong, there must be a lot of people from the corpse sect in Ivory City now. Leaving at this time is tantamount to courting death. Then what should we do? We can't just sit here and wait for death, can we? As long as this expert of the Zhang family takes me to the Zhang family's forbidden area, I will naturally tell you who is colluding with the corpse sect. After taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a low voice, "There should be something that you are interested in the Zhang family's forbidden area." Ningyu's words made the eyes of many martial artists at the scene light up. In Ivory City, there were no more than 5 people who were qualified to enter the Zhang family's forbidden area. Even Zhang Hao and Zhang Jian only knew where the Zhang family's forbidden area was, but they had never entered it. The more mysterious something was, the more people would be interested in it. Therefore, after hearing Ningyu's words, everyone once again began to talk at once. Maybe the Zhang family's forbidden area is really hiding some shameful secret. No one knows what is in the Zhang family's forbidden area. Zhang Hao, take Ningyu to the Zhang family's forbidden area. Yes, take Ningyu to the Zhang family's forbidden area. We want to see how Ningyu will prove his innocence to us. Damn it! The words of the surrounding martial artists made Zhang Hao's face turn pale. Originally, He thought that by using these people to put pressure on Ningyu, Ningyu would know the difficulty and back off. Who would have thought that would backfire, and these people would become Ningyu's help instead? At this critical moment, if he did not take everyone to the Zhang family's forbidden area, he would be in the wrong and feel guilty. At that time, if Ningyu wanted to kill them, he would get everyone's support. Moreover, these people would even hit him when he was down. Fine, I will take you to the Zhang family's forbidden area. Zhang Hao gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "A straight body is not afraid of a crooked shadow. I want to see what tricks you can play today." As he spoke, Zhang Hao took a step forward and entered the Zhang family's residence. Ningyu winked at the Red Devil and gave him a few words of advice before following closely behind. Crash! Seeing that Ningyu and Zhang Hao had entered the Zhang family's residence, the remaining martial artists all rushed toward the Zhang family's courtyard. Swoosh! Suddenly, Hong Mo's figure flashed and blocked in front of everyone. I will say the ugly words first. There may be experts from the corpse sect in the Zhang family's forbidden area. If you go in this time, you will not even be able to keep your lives. Hong Mo's voice contained some Yuan energy as he said in a clear voice. Therefore, all martial artists whose cultivation has not reached the Yuan Dan stage better obediently stay here. As Hong Mo's voice fell, the expressions of martial artists whose cultivation was below the Yuan Dan stage slightly changed. However, they knew Hong Mo's battle strength and could only be angry, not daring to say anything. You. As his gaze swept across the crowd of martial artists, Hong Mo pointed at 5 of them and said, "The 5 of you will enter the Zhang family's residence with me." The 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists looked at each other, then rose from the ground and followed Hong Mo into the Zhang family's residence. What? As soon as these Yuan Dan stage martial artists entered the Zhang family's residence, their pupils slightly shrank as extreme shock appeared in their eyes. This was because in front of them, there were 30 true martial stage martial artists standing side by side. At the very front of these true martial stage martial artists were 2 familiar figures, Zhang Hao and Ningyu. However, at this moment, Zhang Hao's face no longer had the calm expression from before. Instead, there was a deep sense of fear. Chapter 380. A special Yuan Dan realm martial artist, Zhang Hao. Tell them what's going on with these true martial realm martial artists. When he saw Hong Mo leading the 5 origin core stage martial artists in, Ningyu kicked Zhang Hao's butt, sending him flying far away as he spoke indifferently. These true martial realm martial artists were only at the early Xiantian realm a day ago. Zhang Hao's entire body trembled as he said shakily, "The reason why they were able to advance to the true martial realm in a day is because they swallowed a type of elixir." What elixir? Behind Hong Mo, an early primal core realm martial artist asked. Elixir refined by the corpse sect. Zhang Hao seemed to have gone through a huge mental struggle as he said, "It's all because Zhang Bin colluded with the corpse sect. It has nothing to do with me. I was forced to do it." Corpse sect. It really is the corpse sect that the Zhang family colluded with. Isn't Zhang Bin too daring? Colluding with the corpse sect is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. When the 5 Yuan Dan realm martial artists heard Zhang Hao's words, their expressions all changed. The corpse sect was the heart demon of almost every great Xia kingdom martial artist. This was because the people of the corpse sect did not follow any rules and were extremely cruel. In order to refine corpse puppets, they would often kill Yuan Dan realm martial artists. None of the martial artists who were targeted by them had a good ending. What did Ningyu do to Zhang Hao? Why did it make Zhang Hao's attitude change by 180 degrees? The 5 Yuan Dan realm martial artists stared at Ningyu as this thought appeared in their minds. You might be wondering why Zhang Hao's attitude was different from before. Slowly walking to the back of a true martial realm martial artist, Ningyu slightly exerted force in his palm and chopped at the neck of the true martial realm martial artist. Gotcha! In the next moment, a cracking sound was heard as the true martial realm martial artist's head was chopped off and fell to the ground. Even though his head was chopped off, the true martial realm martial artist was still standing in the same place, as if nothing had happened. However, traces of black liquid flowed out from the severed neck. Black blood? Corpse puppet. Seeing this, the faces of the 5 Yuan dance stage practitioners revealed expressions of extreme shock. As Origin Core stage practitioners, they naturally knew what black blood meant. An incomplete corpse puppet. If it was a completed corpse puppet, the blood would completely transform and fuse with the body, disappearing without a trace. Since there was still black blood, it meant that this was only the initial stage of the corpse puppet, a half-finished corpse puppet. Crack, crack, crack. Following that, Ning Yu's figure flickered as he shuttled back and forth between the true martial realm martial artists. At the same time, the red demon's sword in his hand slashed out repeatedly. With a series of cracking sounds, the right arms of the remaining true martial realm martial artists were all chopped off. All of them are incomplete corpse puppets. Looking at the black blood on the ground, the 5 Yuan Dan practitioners were shocked to the extreme. Zhang Hao, tell me why you betrayed Zhang Bin and the Corpsine sect. Just as the Yuan Dan stage martial artist was shocked, Ningyu waved his hand and said to Zhang Hao, you should be very clear about the consequences of betraying the corpse sect. The Corpsine sect martial artists are all trash. At the mention of the Corpsine sect, Zhang Hao gnashed his teeth in anger and fiercely said, they betrayed the agreement and secretly left a trace of corpse in Qi in my knowledge sea. If not for Ning Yu's timely discovery, I would still be in the dark. Corpse in Qi. The 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists were shocked. That's right, corpse in Qi. At the mention of the corpse in Qi, Zhang Hao was furious and said, right now, the corpse in Qi is still in my knowledge sea. Zhang Hao, don't complain. As long as you bring me to the Zhang family's forbidden area, I will naturally find a way to expel the corpse in Qi from your knowledge sea. Ning Yu's words sounded timely. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Zhang Hao revealed an expression of gratitude. Swoosh! Immediately after, he tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and quickly rushed toward the Zhang family's forbidden area. Looking at Zhang Hao's back, the corner of Ning Yu's mouth curled up and his figure flashed as he followed. As for the 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists, they did not dare to follow and could only stand there quietly. The 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists did not follow, so Hong Mo simply stayed behind as well. This was because just now, Ning Yu had communicated to him through the soul, telling him that there was something strange about these 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists and that he must keep an eye on them. Hong Mo chose to believe Ning Yu's words unconditionally. Since Ning Yu said there was something strange about them, then there must be something strange about them. Big brother, should we 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists, 2 in the early stage, 1 in the middle stage, and 2 in the late stage. After Ning Yu and Zhang Hao left, one of the early stage Yuan Dan stage martial artists whispered, don't act rashly, don't forget the purpose of our visit this time. The late stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist expression did not change as he transmitted his voice to the early stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist. Big brother, is Ningyu really that strong? Even Zhang Bin is no match for him. The middle stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist frowned. He is indeed very strong, but Zhang Bin is only a peak early stage Yin Yang stage martial artist, so it is understandable that he lost to Ningyu. Taking a deep breath, the late stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist said in a low voice, don't worry, the thing I brought this time is very special. Even a middle stage Yin Yang stage martial artist would not be able to withstand it. Doesn't that mean that we can easily capture Ningyu? The middle stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist's face lit up with joy. Shaking his head, the late stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist said, we can't make a move in Ivory City. Ivory City is in troubled times now, and our base is not here. The corpse sect is not to be trifled with. Looks like Ningyu is right. There is indeed something strange about you guys. The 5 Yuan Dan stage martial artists did not know that their conversation had been completely heard by Hong Mo, and not a single word was missed. However, without Ning Yu's approval, Hong Mo would not act rashly. After all, according to the late stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist, They had something that could make a middle-stage, yin-yang stage martial artist afraid, and Hong Mo's strength was far from reaching the middle-stage, yin-yang stage. Whoosh! At the same time, on the other side, Zhang Hao led Ningyu back and forth in the Zhang family, cleverly avoiding all kinds of soul seals. Finally, they stopped in front of a slightly dimly lit courtyard. "This is the Zhang family's forbidden area?" Ningyu raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully. "This is not the Zhang family's forbidden area." Zhang Hao shook his head. Ningyu was slightly taken aback and said, "If this is not the Zhang family's forbidden area, why did you bring me here? Although this is not the Zhang family's forbidden area, it is more important," Zhang Hao said in a low voice. "More important?" Ningyu frowned and said, "Su Jinfu is refining the inner demon pill. If he succeeds, the consequences will be unimaginable. I know this. Believe me, this place is more important than the Zhang family's forbidden area." As he spoke, Zhang Hao moved his feet and walked toward the courtyard. Ningyu first released his advanced 5th-grade soul force and probed around the courtyard. Very quickly, he retracted his soul force, and his face turned slightly serious. Chapter 381. Chapter 381. Being controlled after thinking for a moment, Ningyu followed Zhang Hao into the courtyard. There was indeed a wisp of corpse yin chi left by a martial artist of the corpse yin sect in Zhang Hao's sea of consciousness. At first, Zhang Hao did not notice it. If not for Ningyu's reminder, Zhang Hao would still be in the dark. However, the wisp of corpse yin chi was weak and far from being enough to kill Zhang Hao. It could be said that if Zhang Hao wanted to, he could get rid of the corpse yin chi in his sea of consciousness. As for why Zhang Hao pretended to be so indignant, Ningyu guessed that someone must have contacted Zhang Hao. Otherwise, with Zhang Hao's peak primal core cultivation, he would not dare to bring him here. In the Zhang family, could there be a more important place than the Zhang family's forbidden land? Who could fool? Sun Jiangwen told me that although Su Jinfu is a 7th-grade advanced stage alchemist, his cultivation is only at the early stage of the yin-yang realm. The reason why Ningyu dared to enter this courtyard was that he had absolute confidence that even if Su Jinfu suddenly appeared, he could deal with it calmly. Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early stage of the yin-yang realm, was defeated by him. Naturally, Su Jinfu, who was at the early stage of the yin-yang realm, was no match for him. "Elder Su, I brought Ningyu as you asked." After entering the courtyard, Zhang Hao hurriedly communicated with Su Jinfu in his mind. "Please don't kill me. Noisy, hurry up and take Ningyu to the second room on the left." A powerful voice sounded in Zhang Hao's mind. Hearing this, Zhang Hao did not dare to say more and hurriedly walked to the second room on the left. Wait a minute. However, Zhang Hao had only taken a few steps before Ningyu stopped him. Stopping where he was, Zhang Hao looked at Ningyu, who was walking toward him, and asked in confusion, "What?" "Haha, nothing. I just have something to ask you." With a smile, Ningyu said, "You can tell me what is so special about this courtyard, and why it is more important than the Zhang family's forbidden land." Zhang Hao's eyes flickered. Finally, he gritted his teeth and pointed to the second room on the left. "To tell you the truth, this room is the Zhang family's treasure room. All the Zhang family's treasures are in this room." "Is that so?" Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, "In that case, I have to thank you." "You don't have to thank me, as long as you can help me get rid of the corpse yin chi in my sea of consciousness." Zhang Hao's eyes were somewhat evasive, and he did not dare to look directly at Ningyu, for fear of being seen through. "Zhang Hao, why don't I help you get rid of the corpse yin chi in your sea of consciousness now?" Rolling his eyes, Ningyu said, "You can take the treasures in the Zhang family's treasure trove at any time. If you don't get rid of the corpse yin chi in your sea of consciousness one day later, it will probably cause fatal harm to you." This, due to nervousness, Zhang Hao's forehead was covered in beads of sweat. "Let him help you get rid of the corpse yin chi in your sea of consciousness. I'd like to see if a late-stage, true martial realm martial artist can really defeat Zhang Bin like you said." In the second room on the left of the courtyard, an old man dressed in gray said in a deep voice, The old man in gray was none other than the late-stage, 7th-grade alchemist of the corpse sect Alchemist Hall, Su Jinfu. In front of him, there were 2 transparent jade bottles. Each jade bottle contained 3 black elixirs. Demon Heart Dan. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely recognize that the dawn in the jade bottles were Demon Heart Dawn. Originally, Ningyu thought that Su Jinfu was refining the Demon Heart Dan. Who would have thought that Su Jinfu had already refined the Demon Heart Dan? Moreover, he had refined a total of 6 of them. 6 Demon Heart Dawn, and each of them had reached the best quality level. The Demon Heart Dan was originally a 7th grade Dan, and the best quality Demon Heart Dan could even control a middle-stage Yin-Yang Realm martial artist. Zhang Bin is a peak early-stage Yin-Yang Realm martial artist, and the person outside is only a late-stage true martial realm martial artist. With a wave of his wrist, Su Jinfu put away the 2 bottles of Demon Heart Dan and murmured, defeating an early-stage Yin-Yang Realm martial artist with a late-stage true martial realm cultivation. In the Xia Empire's corpse sect, only the number 1 genius of the Ghost Talent Hall can do this. Thinking of that abnormal genius of the Ghost Talent Hall, Su Jinfu could not help but shiver. He had personally seen the number 1 genius of the Ghost Talent Hall defeat an early-stage Yin-Yang Realm martial artist with 1 move when he was in the late-stage true martial realm. At that time, that early-stage Yin-Yang Realm martial artist was far stronger than Zhang Bin. Now that the number 1 genius of the Ghost Talent Hall had advanced to the Yuan Dan realm, one could imagine how terrifying the strength of a Yuan Dan realm martial artist was. At this moment, Zhang Hao, who was outside the room, gritted his teeth and said, "Ningyu, I can let you help me get rid of the corpse Yin Shi in my sea of consciousness. But before that, I have a small request." "What request?" Ningyu said without batting an eyelid. "It's very simple. You must completely remove the corpse Yin Shi in my sea of consciousness within 10 minutes. Zhang Hao said in a deep voice. "Why?" Ningyu asked. "If you remove the corpse Yin Shi in my sea of consciousness, you will definitely send your soul force into my sea of consciousness. 10 minutes is the limit of what I can endure. If it goes any longer, I'm afraid you will control me." Zhang Hao said, as if he was really at a disadvantage. "You can rest assured about this. When I remove the corpse Yin Qi in your sea of consciousness, I will not use all my soul force." Waving his hand, Ningyu said, "I will only use 10% of my soul force or less." "What? How can 10% of your soul force remove the corpse Yin Qi in my sea of consciousness? You are..." "Fine, 10% is 10%. At first, Zhang Hao flew into a rage, but then, as if he heard something, he suddenly became listless. "Zhang Hao, relax your mind." The next moment, Ningyu's eyes turned cold as he shouted in a low voice. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a wisp of soul force swept out of Ningyu's body and rushed toward Zhang Hao. Swoosh! However, along with this wisp of soul force, there was also a red flying sword. "Ningyu, do you want to..." Seeing the red flying sword coming toward him, Zhang Hao's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly shouted. However, as soon as he shouted, he let out a miserable shriek like a pig being slaughtered. Puff! Immediately, his chest was pierced by the red demon sword, and his body fell straight backward. "Zhang Hao, do you think I don't know what you're up to? In front of me, any conspiracy? Not good." After defeating Zhang Hao in one move, before Ningyu's voice faded, a look of horror appeared on his face. This was because he found that Zhang Hao's body was rapidly expanding. Explosion. It was obvious that Zhang Hao's situation was no different from self-destruction. The only difference was that self-destruction was controlled by oneself, while Zhang Hao's state was no longer under his control. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, Ningyu stamped his feet on the ground and rushed toward Zhang Hao at a shocking speed. In the blink of an eye, Ningyu arrived in front of Zhang Hao, grabbed one of Zhang Hao's arms with each hand, and then used all his strength to throw Zhang Hao toward the second room on the left. Boom! As soon as Zhang Hao's body touched the second room on the left, it suddenly exploded. Chapter 382. the experienced Su Jin Fukaboom. When the sound of the explosion rang out, the crowd of martial artists in front of the Zhang family's door revealed a look of horror. Some of the martial artists, whose level of cultivation was too low, were even pushed back several feet by the shockwave of the explosion. Puffed, puffed. After spitting out several mouthfuls of fresh blood, these martial artists with lower levels of cultivation turned deathly pale, their faces devoid of color. What exactly happened? I'm not sure, but this explosion should have come from inside the Zhang family. Nonsense. I know even if you don't tell me. What do you know? Do you know what exactly caused the explosion? If I'm not wrong, it should be a primal core martial artist who self-destructed. Whoosh. As soon as this martial artist finished speaking, there was an uproar. A peak primal core martial artist self-destructed? That should not be possible. After all, the shockwave of the explosion clearly did not reach the level of a peak primal core martial artist. At most, it was equivalent to the explosion of an early primal core martial artist. This aura of the explosion, it seems to be Zhang Hao. As the crowd discussed, Zhang Jian's heart skipped a beat. From the aura of the explosion, he smelled a familiar scent. This familiar scent was exactly the same as the scent on Zhang Hao's body. There was almost no difference. That should not be possible. Then, Zhang Jian shook his head, denying this thought. Zhang Hao was a peak primal core martial artist, and the shockwave of his explosion could not have been so weak. Logically speaking, the self-destruction of a peak primal core martial artist was difficult even for an early yin-yang martial artist to withstand. Whoosh! What Zhang Jian did not know was that in the courtyard of the Zhang family, Ningyu's 4 illusory golden cores were floating above his head, continuously emitting yuan qi. The yuan qi of the 4 illusory golden cores intertwined, forming a protective yuan qi shield in front of Ningyu. Whoosh! The shockwave of Zhang Hao's self-destruction kept hitting the shield in front of him, making a sizzling sound. Fortunately, Zhang Hao resisted the explosion. Otherwise, with the primordial qi in my 4 illusory golden cores, I definitely wouldn't be able to withstand the aftermath of the explosion. Ningyu was still aware of his own limitations. Unless he advanced his cultivation to the true martial realm great perfection, or even half a step into the Yuan Dan realm, he would definitely not be able to withstand the self-detonation of a Yuan Dan pinnacle martial artist. With the protection of Ningyu's 4 illusory golden elixir shadows, the aftershock of Zhang Hao's self-destruction had dissipated significantly. As a result, the many warriors at the Zhang family's door had only felt the self-destruction of an early primal core warrior. The aftermath of the explosion lasted for a quarter of an hour before it slowly dissipated. Xiao! The moment the shockwave dissipated, a figure dashed out of the room and charged straight at Ningyu. Bang! The sudden change caused Ningyu's expression to change slightly. In the next instant, he gathered his primordial qi on his fist and smashed it against the martial artist in front of him. At the moment when the fists collided, Ningyu and the martial artist each took a few steps back. The strength of the late 7th grade soul force, the early yin-yang realm cultivation. Looking at the gray-robed old man not far away, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, you should be the late 7th grade alchemist of the Alchemist Hall, Su Jinfu. You know my name?" Hearing Ningyu's words, the gray-robed old man was obviously startled and felt a little incredulous. In a huge ivory city, apart from the martial artists of the Yin Corp sect, there were only 3 people who knew his name: Zhang Bin, Zhang Hao, Zhang Jian. In other words, apart from these 3 martial artists, no one in Ivory City knew that his name was Su Jinfu. Humph! I didn't expect you to even force out my name. Zhang Bin and the others are really useless, Su Jinfu said with a cold snort. He could basically judge that the martial artists who told Ningyu his name could only be Zhang Bin, Zhang Hao, and Zhang Jian. However, Ningyu's next words made his pupils shrink slightly, revealing a look of extreme shock. Ningyu took a step forward and said lightly, "Before I entered Ivory City, I already knew your name. In order to break through the Ivory Tower, the Alchemist Hall sent out 3 great alchemists, Sun Jiangwen, Link, and you. The reason why I know that you are staying in the Zhang family is entirely because of Sun Jiangwen. Sun Jiangwen. Su Jinfu's face changed, and he scolded, "Don't try to sow discord between us." Sun Jiangwen also told me that you are refining the inner demon pill. Shrugging, Ningyu continued, "If I'm not wrong, you should have refined the inner demon pill, but I don't know how many inner demon pills you have refined." This time, Su Jinfu was finally moved. Ningyu knew so much about this plan. Maybe what he said was true. Sun Jiangwen had betrayed them. Suddenly, Su Jinfu seemed to think of something, and his face became completely gloomy. If Sun Jiangwen betrayed them, the Alchemist Hall Master and the others would definitely be in great danger. I have indeed refined the inner demon pill, and I have refined 6 inner demon pills. Taking a deep breath, Su Jinfu reached into his arms and took out 2 jade bottles. Supreme Inner Demon Pill. Seeing the jade bottles in Su Jinfu's hands, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. Supreme Inner Demon Pill was known to be able to control intermediate yin-yang realm martial artists. Once it entered the Great Xia Kingdom, it would cause fatal harm to the Great Xia Kingdom. 6 Inner Demon Pills. At first, I planned to leave 3 in Ivory City and send the other 3 to the capital. Just as Ningyu was shocked by this, Su Jinfu sneered, "Since I have met you, I will give you 1 inner demon pill." Buzz! Su Jinfu waved his hands quickly in front of him. As Su Jinfu waved his hands, a small whirlpool suddenly appeared in the space in front of him, and this small whirlpool continued to expand. Dead Soul's Whirlpool. Seeing the small whirlpool in front of Su Jinfu, Ningyu's pupils shrank, and he could not help but take a few steps back. The Dead Soul's Whirlpool was extremely difficult to cultivate. Not even 1 in 100 corpse sect martial artists could successfully cultivate it. In order to display the power of the Dead Soul's Whirlpool, one must feed the corpse yin qi into it. In the past, Ningyu had seen a martial artist from the corpse sect use the Dead Soul's Whirlpool, and it was Qi Jiang from the Ghost Town Hall. However, Qi Jiang was only ranked 7th in the Ghost Town Hall, and the Dead Soul's Whirlpool he used was far from Su Jinfu's. You actually know about the Dead Soul's Whirlpool. Su Jinfu raised his eyebrows and smiled. Dying in the Dead Soul's Whirlpool is also a kind of enjoyment for you. Swoosh! With a wave of his sleeve, a dark green gas rushed out and madly rushed toward the Dead Soul's Whirlpool. Don't let the corpse yin qi enter the Dead Soul's Whirlpool. Ningyu was not a fool. The scene of his battle with Qi Jiang was still vivid in his mind. Once the corpse yin qi entered the Dead Soul's Whirlpool, the Dead Soul's Whirlpool would rush out with Dead Soul's Whirlpool. Ningyu had already seen the power of the Dead Soul's Whirlpool from Gue Air. If he did not have the quenching pill cauldron, he would have long been corroded by Gue Air's Dead Soul's Whirlpool. Chapter 383. Choose one of 2-inch solitaire. Seeing that the ghostly green corpse yin qi was about to enter the necromancy vortex, Ningyu's eyes turned cold. Immediately, for terrifying waves of primordial qi swept out from the golden core and frantically burrowed into the red demon sword. Immediately after, Ningyu quickly waved the red demon sword. Accompanied by a low roar, a shocking sword wave rushed out from the red demon sword and charged towards Su Jinfu's corpse yin qi at an astonishing speed. 4 illusory gold cores. When Su Jinfu saw the 4 illusory golden cores above Ningyu's head unleash a powerful wave of primordial qi, he was slightly taken aback, feeling a little incredulous. When he sprang out of the room, the first thing he saw was the 4 illusory golden cores above Ningyu's head. However, at that time, he did not think that the illusory golden core above Ningyu's head was real. Who would have thought that the 4 illusory golden cores above Ningyu's head were not only real, but also contained a terrifying amount of yuan qi? Just because of your 4 illusory golden cores? I've changed my mind. Su Jinfu was indeed a cultivator who had seen a lot of things. He quickly calmed down and said coldly, "I will not kill you. I will capture you and study you properly. So much nonsense. After slashing out a solitaire, Ningyu immediately activated the Netherworld Samsara Palm technique and quickly blasted out a palm print. Revolving Palm. The revolving palm was the fifth style of the Netherworld Samsara Palm, and it was extremely powerful. When Ningyu was in the middle stage of the 5th grade, his rotating will palm was able to compete with a peak Yuan Dan practitioner. Now that his soul power had advanced to the late stage of the 5th grade, the power of the rotating will palm had also increased. Xiao! Xiao! In the face of Ningyu's 2 consecutive attacks, not only was Su Jinfu not afraid, but the corners of his mouth curled up into an evil smile. Insignificant skill. In the next moment, Su Jinfu flicked his sleeves, and 2 rays of cold light shot out. One blasted towards Solitaire, while the other blasted towards the rotating will palm. Voila! When the chilling light and the Solitaire came into contact, the result was not beyond Su Jinfu's expectations. The chilling light easily dispersed the Solitaire. Rumble. Meanwhile, on the other side, before Su Jinfu's cold light could collide with Ningyu's rotating wheel palm, the rotating wheel palm exploded. The aftershock of the explosion spread out in all directions, causing Su Jinfu's brows to raise as he felt a little disbelief. I didn't expect your palm print to explode. Oh no! Seeing the explosion of the revolving wheel palm, Su Jinfu smiled faintly. Just as he was about to mock Zhang Xian, his expression abruptly changed. That was because a terrifying spiritual pressure was pressing down on him unscrupulously. Damn it! You used a soul attack spell technique. Cursing inwardly, Su Jinfu stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. However, the speed at which he retreated was clearly slower than the speed of the soul suppression. He had only retreated a few steps when the soul suppression arrived in front of him. Humph! Your soul strength is only at the advanced stage of the 5th grade, but my soul strength is at the advanced stage of the 7th grade. Even if you used a soul attack spell technique, you can't do anything to me. With a cold snort, Su Jinfu's soul strength at the advanced stage of the 7th grade poured out and formed a soul protection shield in front of him. Generally speaking, when faced with a soul attack spell technique, ordinary martial artists would not use their soul strength to block it. After all, soul attack spells specialized in attacking the soul. Even if one's soul strength was a level higher than the opponent's, it was still difficult to block it. However, there were exceptions to everything. As long as one's soul strength was 2 levels higher than the opponent's, one could rely on the absolute strength of the soul strength to suppress the opponent, rendering the opponent's soul attack spell technique ineffective. What Su Jinfu needed to do now was to rely on his advanced stage of the 7th grade soul strength to suppress Ningyu. Sizzle. As expected, before the aftershock of the explosion came into contact with Su Jinfu's soul protection shield, it made a sizzling sound and directly dissipated between heaven and earth. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes and plots will be exposed. Seeing that the soul protection shield had blocked the aftershock of the explosion, Su Jinfu smiled evilly. Next, it's my turn to attack, dead spirits. Is that so? Before Su Jinfu finished speaking, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and quickly threw the red demon sword in his hand. Swish! As soon as the red demon sword was thrown, a small red flying sword separated from the sword. The small red flying sword flew towards Su Jinfu, while the red demon sword flew towards the vortex of the dead spirits. What the hell? Su Jinfu frowned slightly as he looked at the small red flying sword approaching him. He was a little confused. He did not know what trick Ningyu was playing. Logically speaking, the explosion of the rotating wheel palm should not have been able to cause any damage to his soul protection shield. What could this small flying sword do? Absorb it. However, just as Su Jinfu was feeling puzzled, a low roar came from Ningyu's mouth. As the low roar rang out, a terrifying, devouring force was emitted from the small red flying sword. The small flying sword was not an ordinary flying sword, but the red demon sword's good sword. Its devouring force was comparable to the red demon sword's. The reason why Ningyu had chosen to use the good sword at this moment was because Su Jinfu was completely relaxed. Secondly, Su Jinfu had used his soul power. Buzz. In the next instant, while Su Jinfu was still in a daze, the good sword had arrived in front of him. The terrifying devouring force was unscrupulously devouring his soul power. How dare you devour my soul power? Su Jinfu reacted almost at the same time his soul power was devoured. However, he reacted a little too late. In the short span of a second, a tenth of his soul power had already been devoured. As Ningyu's soul power had advanced to the advanced stage of grade 5, the good sword's devouring force had also increased significantly. Otherwise, it would not have been able to devour a tenth of Su Jinfu's soul power in a second. Die! Su Jinfu, who had reacted, shouted and immediately retracted the soul power outside his body. His primordial energy wrapped around his wrist, and he threw a punch. Ding! The fist and the flying sword collided. The result was obvious. The good sword was sent flying back several feet. I want this flying sword. Su Jinfu stomped on the ground and headed straight for the good sword, intending to retrieve it. Su Jinfu, do you really want that flying sword? Ningyu did not worry when he saw Su Jinfu charge the good sword. Instead, he smiled. Of course, the quality of this flying sword is not low, so it naturally belongs to me, Su Jinfu said proudly as he flew. All right, as long as you can catch up to the flying sword, what's the harm in giving it to you? Ningyu shrugged. Then, he changed the topic and said, however, between the flying sword and the necromancy vortex, which one will you choose? What's there to think about? Of course I'll choose the flying. What? The flying sword and the necromancy vortex? When he heard Ningyu's words, Su Jinfu replied almost without hesitation. However, before he could finish his sentence, he realized that something was wrong and hurriedly shifted his gaze to Ningyu. Chapter 384. Chapter 384. Controlling the Death Soul Vortex. Impossible. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Su Jinfu's expression became extremely ugly, and his fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. He had never imagined that Ningyu could actually control the undead whirlpool. One must know that the Death Soul Vortex was a unique secret technique of the corpse sect. It was almost impossible for non-corpse sect martial artists to come into contact with it. Any martial artist who came into contact with the cultivation method of the Death Soul Vortex would, without exception, be killed by the corpse sect. In order to prevent the cultivation method of the Death Soul Vortex from being leaked, the corpse sect would not only kill the martial artists who came into contact with the cultivation method, they would also kill all the members of the martial artist families. It was commonly known as the extermination of the family. Hee, as long as you put your heart into it, nothing is impossible. With a faint smile, Ningyu dragged the Death Soul Vortex with his left hand and the dark green corpse Yin Qi with his right. However, there was a layer of dense Yuan Qi on both of Ningyu's hands. The corpse Yin Qi and the Death Soul Vortex were both corrosive. In order to prevent his hands from being corroded, Ningyu specially used his Yuan Qi and gathered it on his palms. Oomph. Ningyu, you're finished. No one in this world can save you. With a cold snort, Su Jinfu said in a deep voice, I originally planned to let you live, but since you're courting death, don't blame me. Let me live. As if he had heard the funniest joke in the world, Ningyu faced the sky and laughed wildly. He then said coldly, the Death Soul Vortex and Corpsine Qi are both in my hands. Your soul force has also been devoured by 1/10. What do you have to fight against me now? Xiao. At this moment, the good sword streaked across the sky and appeared in front of Ningyu. With a thought from Ningyu, the good sword directly drilled into the red demon's sword and went dormant. Seeing the small red flying sword enter the red demon's sword in front of Ningyu, Su Jinfu was so angry that his body trembled and his eyes were filled with viciousness. In order to obtain the small red flying sword, he had been very careless. Otherwise, Ningyu would not have been able to control the Death Soul Vortex. Right now, It was obvious that he had gone for wool and come home shorn. Ningyu, who told you how to control the Death Soul whirlpool? Tell me, and I can plead with the Hall Master to spare your life. Su Jinfu calmed down and said sinisterly, There's no harm in telling you. Shrugging his shoulders, Ningyu said, Listen up. The one who told me how to control the Dead Soul's whirlpool was from the Alchemist Hall. Ningyu paused for a moment, then smiled and said, Sun Jiangwen. Sun Jiangwen. Hearing Ningyu's words, Su Jinfu was stunned at first. Then his face completely darkened. You keep saying it's Sun Jiangwen. What proof do you have? Su Jinfu said coldly. Evidence? Ningyu opened his mouth and said, You're asking me for evidence? Why should I give you evidence? If you don't believe me, you can ask Sun Jiangwen yourself. All right, I'll go now. No, you're stalling for time. As he spoke, Su Jinfu seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes stared straight at Ningyu, at the Dead Soul's whirlpool in Ningyu's hand. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Su Jinfu laughed out loud. After laughing, the corners of Su Jinfu's lips curled up, revealing an evil smile, and said, I thought you really controlled the Dead Soul's whirlpool. I didn't expect you to only grasp the surface of the Dead Soul's whirlpool and not completely control it. If that's the case, with a strange laugh, Su Jinfu rose from the ground and charged toward Ningyu at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, Su Jinfu fully unleashed his early-stage yin-yang aura, suppressing Ningyu. Damn it! Seeing that Su Jinfu was charging toward him, Ningyu's expression changed drastically. Without thinking, he immediately retreated. Su Jinfu was right. He indeed did not completely control the Dead Soul's whirlpool, and had only seized control of half of it. Because he had never seen Su Jinfu's Dead Soul's whirlpool, Sun Jiangwen had no way to tell Ningyu the specific method, and could only tell Ningyu the general method of controlling the Dead Soul's whirlpool. Although the general method could be used, it was too time-consuming. The reason why Ningyu and Su Jinfu were playing dumb and teasing each other was because he was stalling for time. Once he managed to control the Dead Soul's whirlpool, Su Jinfu's death would come. However, Su Jinfu's sudden attack had messed up all his plans, forcing him to bite the bullet and fight Su Jinfu. Corpse Yin Chi. At the critical moment, Ningyu threw out the Corpse Yin Chi in his right hand and faced Su Jinfu. Using my Corpse Yin Chi to fight me? Su Jinfu obviously did not put the Corpse Yin Chi in his eyes. After all, he was a member of the Corpse Yin sect, and he was very familiar with the Corpse Yin Chi. Thank you for returning the Corpse Yin Chi to me. Su Jinfu's eyes flashed, and he slightly gave up on attacking Ningyu. Instead, he took out a black bottle from his bosom. Bang! With a little force from his thumb, Su Jinfu popped the cork and threw the black bottle at the Corpse Yin Chi. Buzz! The moment the black bottle flew out, it gradually grew bigger. When it was about to touch the Corpse Yin Chi, it had already grown several times bigger. Corpse Yin Chi, come back. Su Jinfu shouted in a low voice. Crash! Following Su Jinfu's shout, a huge suction force came from the mouth of the black bottle, and the Corpse Yin Chi was easily sucked into the bottle. Pa! Then, Su Jinfu took out a cork from his bosom and plugged the mouth of the bottle. Ningyu, have you lost your mind? Su Jinfu was dumbfounded when he saw Ningyu throw the vortex of undead souls above his head, cupped his fists, and revealed a silly smile. Ningyu wouldn't have become a fool, right? Because no normal person would make such an expression and behavior. Even if you've lost your mind, I will still kill you. Su Jinfu's figure flashed, and he was about to rush out. However, before he could rush out, Ningyu's voice sounded in the area. Su Jinfu, don't you think there is something wrong with the Corpse Yin Chi? Ningyu smiled. Something wrong? Hearing this, Su Jinfu was a little stunned, but he quickly sneered. How could there be a problem? How can I not know about my Corpse Yin Chi? You're just trying to buy time. Buying time? Hee hee, the ignorant are fearless. Curling his lips, Ningyu said, To tell you the truth, not only did I return your Corpse Yin Chi to you, I also returned 1/10 of your soul force. You are that good? Frowning, Su Jinfu said, Impossible? Of course I am good. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you something. Ningyu took a step back and said, in the corpsine chi just now, not only did it contain 1/10 of your soul force, it also contained a strand of my soul force. And your soul? F*CK. Hearing this, Su Jinfu wanted to say something, but he could not help but curse. Chapter 385. Soul Suppression. Chapter 385. Soul Suppression. Explode. Ningyu bellowed the moment the black bottle left Su Jinfu's palm. Crack. Following Ningyu's shout, the black bottle exploded with a loud bang. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion reverberated in the courtyard. Su Jinfu's pupils shrank at the explosion of the black bottle. He turned into a shadow and dashed out of the courtyard. However, before Su Jinfu could leave the courtyard, he was hit by the shockwave of the explosion. Su Jinfu could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood as he tasted the blood in his throat. Su Jinfu did not have much time to think. He quickly gathered all his yuan qi in front of him, hoping to withstand the shockwave of the explosion. TSK. However, the shockwave was extremely powerful. It tore apart the yuan qi barrier in front of Su Jinfu almost instantly and hit his chest once again. This time, Su Jinfu was not as lucky as before. Not only did he spit out a few mouthfuls of blood, but his body was also blown back several feet. His face was pale. Swoosh! As the shockwave dissipated, Ningyu's figure flashed and appeared in front of Su Jinfu. Su Jinfu, you have two choices now. Ningyu cupped his fists and said calmly, first, submit to me. Second, at this point, Ningyu's eyes turned cold and his aura crazily pressed against Su Jinfu. Die. As soon as the word die was said, Ningyu held the red demon sword and placed it on Su Jinfu's neck. Ningyu's meaning was clear. If Su Jinfu dared to choose the second option, he would attack immediately and kill Su Jinfu. I am a 7th grade advanced alchemist with Yin-Yang realm cultivation base. You want me to submit to you? Su Jinfu snorted and said proudly, I choose the first option. F*CK. Hearing Su Jinfu's words, Ningyu was a little dumbfounded. He frowned and asked again, which option do you choose? Of course I'll choose the first one. It's better to live than to die. Su Jinfu's words were filled with righteousness as he said, even the peak grade, 7 alchemist Sun Jiangwen betrayed the corpse sect, so it's not a big deal for me to submit to you. A good bird chooses a tree to nest in, so choosing the first one is a wise move. You're really too shameless. Ningyu didn't expect Su Jinfu to be so shameless. The first half of his words sounded like he was going to be loyal to the corpse sect, but the second half made him not know whether to laugh or cry. Ningyu even wondered how Su Jinfu managed to cultivate to the early stage of Yin-Yang realm. Could it be that the older one was the more cunning he was? Shaking his head, Ningyu decided not to think about this for the time being. Instead, he said, Su Jinfu, since you have chosen to submit to me, I will not mistreat you. 1 year from now, I will remove my control over you. Really? Hearing this, Su Jinfu's face lit up and he quickly said, not to mention 1 year. As long as you promise to remove your control over me within 3 years, I will immediately open my mind. Ningyu seemed a little impatient as he said, don't talk nonsense. Quickly open your mind and let my soul force enter your sea of knowledge. Okay. Gritting his teeth, Su Jinfu closed his eyes and completely opened his mind. It was as if he was waiting to be trampled on. However, Su Jinfu's right hand was behind his back, quietly forming a seal. Su Jinfu, wait a moment. Suddenly, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, since you have chosen to submit to me, then release the rest of your soul force from your body and let me control it. What? Su Jinfu's heart skipped a beat and his expression changed slightly. Was I discovered? After thinking about it, Su Jinfu felt that it was unlikely. After all, his movements were very secretive, and he was using his perception to closely observe the changes in Ningyu's expression when he formed the seal. At that time, Ningyu's expression did not change. Su Jinfu, you only have one chance. Cupping his fists, Ningyu looked at Su Jinfu with interest. Su Jinfu's expression was gloomy, and he was having an intense internal struggle. Originally, he had planned to launch a sneak attack on Ningyu, but now, Ningyu's reaction was really confusing. Okay, Ningyu, I will hand over my soul force to you. In that instant, Su Jinfu made a decision that could change his fate. With a thought, the soul force in his body poured out and flew toward Ningyu. Although Su Jinfu had been seriously injured in the explosion of the black jade bottle, his soul force was not too affected. Only 1/10 of his soul force had been devoured by Ningyu's flying sword, and there was still 9/10 left. Finally can't take it anymore. Seeing that so much soul force was attacking him, Ningyu's expression became slightly serious, and the red demon sword gradually shrank to the size of a strand of hair. Whoosh! Not long after, Su Jinfu's advanced stage 7th grade soul force arrived in front of Ningyu. Ha ha ha, Ningyu died. At this moment, Su Jinfu laughed out loud, and his face became distorted. He said coldly, "Under the pressure of my advanced stage 7th grade soul force, what do you have to fight against me? Su Jinfu, aren't you afraid that I will devour the rest of your soul force?" Ningyu did not retreat, but advanced instead. He took a step forward, and all the advanced stage 5th grade soul force in his body surged out. He said in a low voice, "If I can devour 1/10 of your soul force, I can devour all of your soul force. Oomph. Last time, I was completely careless. This time, I am prepared. What do you have to devour my soul force?" With a cold snort, Su Jinfu quickly formed a hand seal. As he formed the hand seal, Su Jinfu said in a low voice, "I will let you have a taste of soul suppression. Buzz." Then, an extremely terrifying soul suppression erupted from Su Jinfu's soul force and unscrupulously suppressed Ningyu. The reason why Su Jinfu was not afraid of Ningyu's devouring flying sword was because he was adept at controlling his soul force and could already display the first stage of soul suppression. The so-called soul suppression required a very strong control over the soul. It was impossible for ordinary alchemists to display soul suppression. Soul suppression was very scary. Once the other party's soul was suppressed, the other party would be like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, without any resistance. Ningyu, when faced with my soul suppression, you should enjoy what? However, before Su Jinfu could finish his sentence, his pupils shrank, and he revealed an extremely shocked expression. As Ningyu waved his sleeves, a cold light shot out. Chi! This cold light was extremely fast, and when it came into contact with his soul force, it suddenly enlarged. Devouring flying sword. Looking at the enlarged flying sword, Su Jinfu almost revealed a look of despair. He did not expect that the soul suppression displayed by his advanced stage 7th grade soul force would have no effect on Ningyu at all. Su Jinfu, don't you think you were a little arrogant to display soul suppression in front of me? Chapter 386. Someone from the capital Chi. As soon as Ningyu's voice fell, the red demon sword made contact with Su Jinfu's soul force. Then, a powerful devouring force erupted, devouring Su Jinfu's soul force crazily. Damn it! Come back! Cursing inwardly, Su Jinfu tried to control his soul force to return to his body. Swoosh! At this moment, Ningyu's figure flashed and appeared in front of Su Jinfu in the blink of an eye. Su Jinfu, if you submit to me obediently, I will definitely spare your life. With a flick of his wrist, the soul-severing sword appeared in Ningyu's hand. In the next moment, Ningyu waved the soul-severing sword and stabbed it straight at Su Jinfu's heart. Su Jinfu was already seriously injured. His primordial chi had been greatly depleted when he resisted the black jade bottle's explosion. Now, he was left with only a trace of primordial chi. It could be said that the current Su Jinfu could be easily killed by a true martial realm martial artist, let alone Ningyu. The outcome was no surprise. The The soul's severing sword gradually enlarged in Su Jinfu's eyes and finally stabbed into his heart. Ningyu, looking down at the flying sword at his heart, Su Jinfu raised his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. He wanted to say something, but his vision went black and his body fell backward. Until his death, Su Jinfu still did not understand how Ningyu could resist the suppression of his soul. Poof! After Su Jinfu died, Ningyu kept the soul-severing sword in his storage ring. Following that, Ningyu attached himself to Su Jinfu's body and started searching. After a while, Ningyu got up and took a few steps back. However, there were 2 jade bottles in Ningyu's hands. Each jade bottle contained 3 black elixirs. They were the inner demon elixirs. They are indeed supreme-grade inner demon elixirs. Looking at the 6 inner demon elixirs in the jade bottles, Ningyu was slightly surprised. Su Jinfu was only a level 7 advanced stage alchemist. The fact that he was able to refine a supreme-grade inner demon pill was enough to prove that his alchemy skills were very high. The inner demon pill was extremely difficult to refine among the 7th grade medicinal pills. An ordinary 7th grade alchemist might not even be able to refine a low-grade inner demon pill, let alone a supreme-grade inner demon pill. No wonder Su Jinfu could display the first stage of soul suppression. It turned out that he was so adept at controlling the soul. Hiss! Suddenly, a hissing sound rang out. Ningyu quickly turned his head to look. After Su Jinfu's death, his soul power became very easy to devour. In just 3 minutes, the red demon sword had completely devoured his soul power. After devouring the soul power, the red demon sword did not linger. Instead, it turned into a blur and appeared before Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Xiao! Ningyu did not hesitate and hurriedly sent a wisp of his soul energy into the red demon sword. His soul power had reached the late stage of 5th grade. If he also devoured Su Jinfu's soul power, there was a high chance that his soul power would increase to the peak of 5th grade. As long as his soul power increased to the peak of 5th grade, Ningyu could cultivate the 6 forms of the Netherworld Samsara Palm. Although the first 5 forms of the Netherworld Samsara Palm were not weak, Ningyu's opponents were mostly peak primal core and yin-yang stage martial artists. The 5th form of the Netherworld Samsara Palm was not strong enough. Ningyu was not an indecisive person. He immediately sat down cross-legged and took out a supreme-grade essence crystal from his storage ring to replenish the primordial chi he had expended. From Gue Air, Ningyu had obtained 10 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 800,000 supreme-grade essence crystals. Now was the time to use them. The spiritual technique slowly circulated. Wisps of primordial chi gushed out of the supreme-grade essence crystal and flowed through Ningyu's palm into his consciousness. Whoosh! While Ningyu was recovering, a large number of martial artists suddenly appeared in front of the Zhang family. These martial artists were dressed in blood-red robes. On their shoulders were 3 large blood-red words, Evil Blood Guards. Evil Blood Guards. It's the Evil Blood Guards. We're the Evil Blood Guards. You don't even know the Evil Blood Guards. You are indeed outdated. Listen up. The Evil Blood Guards are death warriors trained by the capital Zhang family. They're all early primal core stage. That's right. The Evil Blood Guards are very powerful. Although they are only early primal core stage, each of them has been selected through a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Their combat power is comparable to a mid or late primal core stage martial artist. What are they doing here? What? Isn't it obvious? The Zhang family in Ivory City is about to be breached. The capital Zhang family will definitely not sit back and do nothing. The surrounding discussions naturally entered Ho Qingqian's ears. As the strongest expert in the governor's mansion of Ivory City, no one knew better than him how terrifying the Evil Blood Guards were, except for the higher-ups of the Zhang family. In order to complete their mission, the Evil Blood Guards could self-destruct at any time, the kind of self-destruction that they would do. Imagine, how powerful would the self-destruction of 20 or 30 early primal core stage martial artists be? Oof. Where is Zhang Bin? Bring him here to see me. At the forefront of the evil blood guards, there was a peak primal core stage martial artist. This peak primal core stage martial artist swept his gaze across the crowd, then landed on the face of an early primal core stage Zhang family martial artist. He said coldly, "The dignified Zhang family actually sent people to attack our door. What has Zhang been doing?" "Sir, please calm down." Hearing the words of the peak primal core stage martial artist, the early primal core stage Zhang family martial artist hurriedly pointed to a martial artist lying behind him and said, "Ancestor Zhang Bin is here." Before the early primal core stage martial artist had finished speaking, the peak primal core stage Zhang family martial artist's eyes turned cold, and he quickly rushed out. Who beat Zhang Bin up like this? Looking at Zhang Bin's weak appearance, the peak primal core stage martial artist's face completely darkened as he asked coldly. "Ningyu." The early primal core stage martial artist hurriedly replied. "Ningyu." Hearing this, the peak primal core stage martial artist was slightly taken aback. Then the corners of his mouth curled up, and he laughed out loud. After the laughter, the peak primal core stage martial artist said, "Looks like coming to Ivory City this time was a wise choice. To actually be able to meet Ningyu, it really is a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find what you're looking for without even looking. Speak, where is Ningyu?" Then, Zhang Quan changed the topic and said, "At the Zhang family." Whoosh! In the next moment, Zhang Quan rose from the ground and rushed into the Zhang family in a flash. "All of you wait here. Without my permission, no one is to leave." Although he had entered the Zhang family, Zhang Quan did not forget to turn back in order. Isn't the Zhang family in the capital too arrogant? After Zhang Quan left, a martial artist in the middle stage of the real martial realm complained. "Yes, what right does he have to stop us from leaving? This is Ivory City, not the capital." Another martial artist in the late stage of the real martial realm chimed in. However, just as these two martial artists finished speaking, their pupils shrank. This was because two figures were rushing straight towards them. Evil blood guards. These two figures were none other than the evil blood guards of the Zhang family in the capital. The evil blood guards were early primal core stage martial artists. Killing martial artists in the middle stage and late stage of the real martial realm was almost effortless. Chapter 387. The Art of Concealment. Chapter 387. Concealment Technique. Swish. After the two martial artists at the middle and late stage of the real martial realm were killed, the area instantly became quiet, so quiet that it was scary. At this time, many martial artists were extremely frightened. They knew that the evil blood guards were strong, but they did not expect them to be this strong. The martial artists at the middle and late stage of the real martial realm had been killed by them in one move, and not even their dregs were left. This time, many martial artists became obedient, and some low-level martial artists even held their breath, not daring to breathe too loudly. In contrast, Ho Qingqian's face was much uglier. The capital Zhang family was behaving so atrociously in Ivory City, completely disrespecting the mayor's residence. Yang Kuan has already used the royal family's unique voice transmission method to contact the royal family. I wonder when the royal family will send someone. Taking a deep breath, Ho Qingqian did not stand out, but chose to wait quietly. He knew that Yang Kuan had used the royal family's unique voice transmission method. Once the royal family received the news, they would definitely send someone strong as soon as possible. From the capital to Ivory City, if an Yin-Yang realm martial artist rushed at full speed, it would only take about 6 hours. It had been 2 hours since Yang Kuan used the voice transmission method, and all Ho Qingqian had to do was wait here. Bang! At the same time, in the Zhang family courtyard, after hurriedly exchanging a punch with Hong Mo, Zhang Quan took a few steps back to stabilize himself. After stabilizing himself, Zhang Quan's face was a little ugly. Originally, he thought that he could kill the man in red in one move. Who would have thought that the man in red was so strong that he could easily block his punch with 50% of his strength? In the capital Zhang family, Zhang Quan was a peerless genius of the same generation as Zhang Tianwen, and his strength was terrifying. When Zhang Quan was in the late stage of the primal core stage, he had fought with an early-stage yin-yang realm martial artist and even killed him. The man in red in front of him was only in the late stage of the primal core stage, and his punch with 50% of his strength was easily blocked. "Who are you?" Taking a deep breath, Zhang Quan said coldly. "And who are you?" Hong Mo frowned, and his heart became vigilant. Not long ago, Ningyu had communicated with him and told him that there was an expert rushing to the Zhang family. At first, Hong Mo did not think much of it, because he did not sense it. But when he saw Zhang Quan, he knew that Ningyu was right. "I keep having the feeling that there are experts hiding in the surroundings." The Red Fiend was a spirit body and was very sensitive to energy. He kept feeling that there was an expert in the void and couldn't help but look towards the west. You found me?" In the void, an illusory figure furrowed his brows in disbelief. The illusory martial artist was called Zhang Heng. Although his cultivation was only at the half-step yin-yang realm, his concealment technique was superb. He had once obtained a concealment art. Unless it was an yin-yang realm late-stage martial artist, no one would be able to sense him. It shouldn't be possible. His cultivation is only at the late primal core stage. No matter how strong his senses are, he shouldn't be able to detect me. Shaking his head slowly, Zhang Heng said in a deep voice, "Leave this red-clothed man to Zhang Quan. I will go deeper into the Zhang clan to take a look. Humph. It doesn't matter if you don't want to say it, because this day, next year, will be the day you die." Zhang Quan snorted coldly and flicked his sleeves. In an instant, a cold light flew out and headed straight for the Red Fiend. Although the Red Fiend had 5 primal core stage martial artists by his side, in Zhang Quan's eyes, they were all embroidered pillows that looked good but were useless. As long as he wanted to, he could kill them at any time. In his eyes, the Red Fiend was his biggest enemy. "You think you can kill me?" With a cold smile, the Red Fiend's body became illusory. In the next instant, the Red Devil appeared in front of Zhang Quan. His fist brought about a violent gust of wind and landed squarely on Zhang Quan's chest. Bang! Being punched in the chest by the Red Fiend, Zhang Quan couldn't help but take a few steps back. "Pa!" At this moment, the cold light from Zhang Quan also hit the Red Fiend's chest. The huge force caused the Red Fiend to retreat several feet. In this blow, both sides were evenly matched. "Big brother, should we help?" Seeing the battle between the Red Fiend and Zhang Quan, one of the early primal core stage martial artists frowned. "Not for the time being. The Red Fiend will not be defeated so easily. He still has a trump card that he hasn't used yet," one of the late primal core stage martial artists said, shaking his head. "Big brother is right. Our target is Ningyu. As for other matters that have nothing to do with us, we should try our best not to get involved," another early primal core stage martial artist said. "Big brother, Ningyu and Zhang Hao didn't go to the Zhang family's forbidden grounds together, did they?" The first early primal core stage martial artist asked worriedly. "Ningyu will not die so easily. All we have to do is wait." The late primal core stage martial artist said in a low voice, "Don't ask about anything else, and don't say anything. As long as Zhang Quan doesn't provoke us, we don't have to do anything." "All right, whoosh." While the Red Fiend and Zhang Quan were battling, Ningyu exhaled deeply in the courtyard of the Zhang family and slowly stood up. Feeling the strength of his soul power, Ningyu was elated. The late 7th grade soul power is indeed very strong. It directly raised my soul power to the pinnacle of 5th grade. Now I could try to practice the 6th form of the netherworld samsara palm. After a period of devouring, Ningyu had finally devoured all of Su Jinfu's soul power, and the strength of his soul had also advanced from the late 5th grade to the pinnacle. After his soul power had advanced to the pinnacle of 5th grade, Ningyu felt refreshed, and even his senses had improved significantly. The 6th form of the netherworld samsara palm, reincarnation. Oh no! In his mind, Ningyu recalled the 6th form of the netherworld samsara palm. Just as he was about to practice it, his expression changed, and his pupils shrank. Without much time to think, he immediately gathered the yuan qi in his sea of knowledge into his palms and struck out. Pong! In the next moment, a crisp sound rang in the area. Then, Ningyu's body fell backward like a kite with a broken string. Crack! His body hit the door of the courtyard heavily, and the wooden door was smashed into pieces. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ningyu stared at a black figure not far away. His face was completely gloomy, although the martial artist in front of him was only a half step to the yin-yang realm. His concealment skill was very strong. If his soul power had not advanced to the pinnacle of 5th grade, he might not even know how he was killed. Ningyu, how did you find me? At this moment, Zhang Hang's face was full of disbelief. To be precise, he was extremely dumbfounded. In fact, it was no wonder that his concealment skill, which he was so proud of, had been discovered by Ningyu. If Ningyu was a martial artist in the advanced yin-yang realm, it would be fine. However, the reality was that Ningyu was in the advanced real martial realm. How do you know my name? Without answering Zhang Hang's question, Ningyu frowned and said, First of all, you're not from the corpse sect because you don't have a trace of the corpse sect's aura on you. Secondly, this is the Zhang family. Chapter 388. Easily. Haha. So what if you know I'm from the capital's Zhang family? Do you want to go there and cause trouble? After a brief moment of shock, Zhang Hang smirked. Today I, Zhang Hang, will let you know the consequences of offending the Zhang family. I will go to the capital's Zhang family, but not now. Ningyu was furious. The capital's Zhang family had been going against him time and time again, and he was on the verge of exploding. He would go to the capital's Zhang family sooner or later. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a low voice, I have something to do now. What is it? Zhang Hang asked with a raised eyebrow. To kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He waved the red demon sword in his hand, and in an instant, a powerful sword wave was unleashed. Supreme 9 Purities Technique, 6th Form, Solitaire. The next moment, the sword wave appeared above Zhang Hang's head and slashed towards his face. Oh no! Seeing the sword wave approaching him, Zhang Hang's expression changed drastically as he hurriedly retreated. He had not expected the sword wave that Ningyu had unleashed to be so powerful. It was so powerful that it made his heart palpitate. In Zhang Hang's view, the power of this sword wave was infinitely close to the limit of a peak primal core martial artist. Ningyu was only a martial artist in the late stages of the true martial realm. How could he unleash such a powerful technique? A series of questions arose in Zhang Hang's mind, causing him to be momentarily dazed. It's not good to be distracted now. Just as Zhang Hang was slightly distracted, Gu Jianbao had already arrived beside him and ruthlessly chopped at his head. At this critical moment, Zhang Hang used all his strength to dodge to the side. Whoosh! The sword wave was very fast. Although Zhang Hang dodged with all his might, the sword wave still slashed his cheek, and blood dripped down his cheek. Ningyu, I want you dead. Zhang Hang shouted with a sinister expression as he touched the blood on his face. Ningyu frowned slightly and said lightly, if you let the 20 or 30 martial artists of the Zhang family come in together, they might be able to pose a threat to me. As for you, at this point, Ningyu stretched out his index finger and waved it in front of him. Far from enough. Umph! I will let you know what despair is. Zhang Hang coldly snorted. Soon after, his figure gradually became illusory. In the blink of an eye, he completely disappeared. The concealment technique is indeed superb. Seeing Zhang Hang disappear, Ningyu slowly closed his eyes. Although his eyes were closed, Ningyu released his soul perception to detect Zhang Hang's exact location. 3 meters to the left. Suddenly, Ningyu's eyes opened, and the red demon's sword in his hand pierced through the air. Hua! However, just as the red demon's sword stabbed out, Zhang Hang's position changed. He appeared 5 meters to the right of Ningyu. Whoosh! Ningyu stabbed out again. Unfortunately, the sword still did not hit Zhang Hang. Once again, Zhang Heng dodged it. I don't believe you won't attack first. Having been dodged 2 consecutive times by Zhang Heng, Ningyu sat down cross-legged and gave up on attacking. However, Ningyu did not withdraw his soul perception. Instead, it lingered by his side. In fact, Ningyu even sent a portion of his soul perception to the red demon to observe his situation. The red demon's situation was much better than Ningyu's. Zhang Quan was only a peak primal core martial artist, and his concealment technique was not strong. The red demon had the upper hand, and victory was only a matter of time. Against Zhang Heng, should I use the Vortex of Dead Souls? After confirming that the red demon was fine, Ningyu fell into deep thought. After Su Jinfu had died in battle, he had relied on the method that Sun Jiangwen had taught him to completely control the Vortex of Dead Souls. Although he had control of the Vortex of Dead Souls, Ningyu could not unleash its full power. The key reason was that he did not have the yin qi of the Dead Souls. Without the yin qi of the Dead Souls, the power of the Vortex of Dead Souls was at most equivalent to that of a half-step yin-yang realm martial artist. Forget it. I'll keep the Vortex of Dead Souls. Who knows, I might be able to find yin qi of the Dead Souls in the future. After some thought, Ningyu dismissed the idea of using the Vortex of Dead Souls. Su Jinfu's Vortex of Dead Souls was at a very high level. It was far stronger than Qi Zhang's Vortex of Dead Souls. Who knows? I might be able to use it if I keep it. Zhang Heng's concealment technique is very good. I have to find a way to force out the cultivation method of the concealment technique. Ningyu secretly made up his mind to capture Zhang Heng and force out the concealment technique. Ningyu was very clear that if he did not have the soul perception of his previous life, even if his soul power was at the 6th grade level, he would not be able to detect Zhang Heng. Swoosh! At this moment, Zhang Heng suddenly jumped out of the void. His right hand clenched into a fist, which contained an extremely violent fluctuation of essence qi, ruthlessly punched at Ningyu's chest. Vajra fist. Zhang Heng's fist was heavy and powerful. If an ordinary true martial realm martial artist was hit by it, even if he did not die, he would still end up crippled. Vajra fist, Facing Zhang Heng's fist, Ningyu's face was slightly dignified. His sea of consciousness rolled, and 2 illusory golden cores jumped out of his sea of consciousness. Buzz! Immediately, the essence qi in the 2 illusory golden cores poured out and gathered on top of his fist. Bang! In the next instant, Ningyu's fist blasted out and collided with Zhang Heng's fist. When the 2 fists collided, a loud sound came out. Zhang Heng's pupil shrank, and he retreated a few feet. As for Ningyu, he stood in the same place as if nothing had happened. You have 2 illusory golden cores. With a cold expression, Zhang Heng raised his right hand. Just as he was about to speak, he let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Zhang Heng looked down at his right fist, which was constantly bleeding, and stood there in a daze. Swoosh! Ningyu did not stop his attack because of Zhang Heng's daze. His figure flashed, and he instantly appeared beside Zhang Heng. He placed the red demon sword on Zhang Heng's neck and said coldly, "You said that you would let me know the consequences of offending the Zhang family. Is this the consequence?" You. Feeling the cold flying sword on his neck, Zhang Heng's heart sank to the bottom. Things always developed in a dramatic way. When he first saw Ningyu, he thought that he could easily kill Ningyu. When Ningyu used solitaire, he thought that Ningyu's strength was not bad, but it was just not bad. With Ningyu's flying sword on his neck, he finally understood why Ningyu could rise again and again on the Zhang family's catch-up list. Now he had risen to first place. Ningyu, don't be too proud. The Zhang family has many warriors stronger than me. You can kill me today, but tomorrow you will be killed by the Zhang family warriors. Zhang Heng said proudly. Hee hee, you still dare to be so stubborn when you're about to die. With a smile, Ningyu said, answer 2 of my questions, and I can save you from the pain of your soul being burned. You want to ask me everything about the Zhang family? Dream on. Zhang Heng said stubbornly. To tell you the truth, I don't care about the Zhang family. I will go to the Zhang family sooner or later. Chapter 389. Chapter 389. Heavily injured. You're interested in my concealment technique? Ha ha ha. Hearing Ning use words, Zhang Hang was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. Don't even think about my concealment technique. Even if I die, I won't hand it over to you. Is that so? Raising an eyebrow, Ning Yu exerted some force with a red devil sword in his hand. Once you fall into my hands, even death will be an extravagant hope for you. Chi-chi. Blood seeped out of Zhang Hang's neck. When it came into contact with the red devil sword, it made a sizzling sound. Forget it. Your concealment technique is nothing special. Even a late-stage, true martial realm martial artist like me can easily discover it. It's fine if you don't have it. Suddenly, Ningyu shrugged and said, I'll kill you today and take it as interest from the Zhang family. Whoosh! Immediately, Ningyu moved the red devil sword away from Zhang Hang's neck and swung it down. Wait. However, before the red devil sword could completely swing down, Zhang Hang shouted, I can hand over the concealment technique to you, but you have to spare my life. You have no right to bargain with me. The red devil's sword stopped in midair. Ningyu said coldly, hand over the concealment technique and you'll have a chance to live. If you don't, there's only one ending for you, and that is death. All right, I promise you, but the concealment technique is in my head. I'll write it down, Zhang Hang hurriedly said. I'll give you 5 minutes. Withdrawing the red devil sword, Ningyu took a few steps back and paid close attention to Zhang Hang's movements. Rip! Seeing Ningyu retreat, Zhang Hang tore off a corner of his clothes. Then, with strands of yuan qi wrapped around his finger, he began to write down the concealment technique. However, in the process, Zhang Hang's back was facing Ningyu, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. After about 5 minutes, Zhang Hang stopped and threw the corner of his clothes to Ningyu. Ha! Catching the corner of the cloth, Ningyu roughly scanned through the contents on it. Shortly after, blue flames danced on his fingertips, directly burning the corner of the cloth into ashes. There are at least 3 mistakes in the concealment technique formula you wrote for me, Ningyu said gloomily. The concealment technique written by Zhang Hang mainly relied on soul force to achieve concealment. As a peak 9th grade alchemist in his previous life, Ningyu's control over soul force had already reached the pinnacle. Although he had never seen Zhang Hang's concealment technique before, he could still determine that there were 3 mistakes in Zhang Hang's technique. This is impossible. I modified those 3 places to be extremely secretive. How could you have discovered it? Zhang Hang shouted with a face full of astonishment. If that's the case, then it really was you who did it. Ningyu's expression darkened completely. In the next instant, he gripped the red demon sword in his hand and injected the vital qi from the golden core of the virtual image into it. Then, he quickly slashed out a sword wave. Hua! The sword wave was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Zhang Hang. Then, under the latter's terrified gaze, it slashed at his neck. You? Feeling the piercing pain on his neck, Zhang Hang's mouth opened slightly, and his eyes widened. He stretched out his hand and pointed at Ningyu, wanting to say something, but before he could finish, he fell to the ground with a thud. Buzz! At that moment, the red demon's sword began to vibrate and emit a buzzing sound. The change in the red demon's sword caused Ningyu to be slightly taken aback. Then, as if he had thought of something, Ningyu's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly extended his senses. Damn it! Cursing under his breath, Ningyu immediately rose from the ground and rushed towards the battlefield where the red demon sword was at an astonishing speed. Bang! In the courtyard of the Zhang family, the red demon sword forced an early primal core evil blood guard to retreat. He leaned against the wall and panted heavily. The red demon sword had been about to kill Zhang Quan, but who would have thought that 10 early primal core evil blood guards would suddenly appear and surround the red demon sword with Zhang Quan? The red demon sword was stronger than Zhang Quan, but not to the extent of being abnormally strong. After battling with Zhang Quan for more than 10 minutes, the red demon sword finally found an opening in Zhang Quan's defense and wanted to kill him in one blow. Unexpectedly, 10 early primal core evil blood guards appeared in time to not only save Zhang Quan, but also to attack the red demon. This caused the red demon sword to be exhausted from running for his life. Haha, aren't you arrogant? Arrogant? Seeing the red demon's miserable state, Zhang Quan laughed sinisterly. I only need to use 10 evil blood guards to defeat you. Pfft, aren't you afraid of biting off your tongue? The red demon said coldly. If I want to leave, you can't stop me. You think you can leave? Shrugging, Zhang Quan pointed to the 5 primal core realm warriors beside him and said sinisterly, if I want to, I can kill these 5 primal core realm warriors at any time. Whoosh! Hearing Zhang Quan's words, the expressions of the 5 primal core realm warriors changed slightly. One of the early primal core realm warriors said in a low voice, Big brother. Before the early primal core realm warrior could finish his sentence, the late primal core realm warrior who was addressed as Big brother waved his hand and said in a low voice, wait for them to make their move. Just 10 early primal core evil blood guards won't be able to do anything to us. Later, watch for my signal and remember not to be rash. The 5 of them are primal core realm warriors from Ivory City. If you kill them, aren't you afraid of being surrounded by the warriors from Ivory City? At this point, the red demon calmed down and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. No matter how powerful the Zhang family of the capital is, they can't go against the entire Ivory City. Ha ha ha! Zhang Quan laughed maniacally. Then his expression turned cold, and he scolded. The entire Ivory City? To tell you the truth, after today, Ivory City will probably be riddled with. Oh no! Halfway through his sentence, Zhang Quan's pupils shrank, and he retreated. As he retreated, Zhang Quan shouted, Evil blood guards, protect me. Hearing this, the 10 evil blood guards moved out in unison and formed a circle in front of Zhang Quan, surrounding him tightly within. Whoosh! The 10 evil blood guards had just surrounded Zhang Quan when several terrifying sword waves appeared above their heads. Stop the sword waves at all costs. Zhang Quan's heart sank as he looked at the terrifying sword ripples that kept coming at him. He cried out hysterically. Like the red demon, Zhang Quan had expended a lot of energy. He wanted to escape, but he did not have the strength. He could only pin his hopes on the 10 evil blood guards. Fortunately, the evil blood guards were men of sacrifice and would obey orders without question. Whoosh! As soon as Zhang Quan finished speaking, one of the evil blood guards flew up into the sky and collided with the sword waves. Whoosh! The sword waves were extremely powerful. The evil blood guard did not even manage to block them for a second before he was defeated and died on the spot. Whoosh! 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 Soon after, another 3 evil blood guards charged out, charging towards the sword wave in the sky without any hesitation. Whoosh! 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 The outcome was as expected. After resisting for a second, the 3 evil blood guards were defeated and killed on the spot. Chapter 390. A little test hearing Zhang Quan's words. The remaining 6 evil blood guards did not hesitate. They leaped into the air and channeled their Yuan Qi to form a protective Yuan Qi shield above Zhang Quan's head. Whoosh! The 6 evil blood guards were only at the early primal core stage. Even though they tried their best to block the attack, a sword wave still tore through the Yuan Qi shield and headed straight for Zhang Quan. Damn it! What the hell are you all doing? Seeing the powerful sword wave break through the shield and head for him, Zhang Quan's expression changed. He cursed under his breath and immediately retreated. However, Zhang Quan had expended too much energy. His speed of retreat was obviously slower than the sword wave, and he was quickly caught up. The sword wave gradually expanded before Zhang Quan's eyes and finally landed heavily on his chest. Bang! As the sword wave hit his chest, Zhang Quan felt a sweet taste in his throat. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, and his face turned extremely pale. Swoosh! At this moment, a figure approached from afar and landed in front of Zhang Quan. You are Ningyu. Zhang Quan raised his head to look at the warrior who had suddenly appeared. He was stunned at first, then said coldly, Why are you here? Where is Zhang Hang? You wish to see Zhang Hang? All right, since you have requested it, I will fulfill your wish. Ningyu shrugged and then swung the red demon, sword in his hand, towards Zhang Quan. Seeing the flying sword approaching him, Zhang Quan's eyes narrowed. He could not help but raise his arm to block. Crack! After all, Zhang Quan was only a peak primal core warrior. The strength of his body could not compare to a king-level flying sword. With a loud crack, Zhang Quan's arm was chopped off. With his arm chopped off, Zhang Quan let out a hysterical scream. Pooh! In the next moment, Zhang Quan's scream came to an abrupt stop before it could even finish. He lowered his head to look at the red flying sword sticking out of his heart. His mouth opened slightly as he raised his left hand and pointed at Ningyu. Then his eyes dimmed. Bang! His body fell backward and landed heavily on the ground. At this moment, the Zhang family's genius, Zhang Quan, had died in battle. I've underestimated Ningyu. He's much stronger than he looks. Seeing that Zhang Quan had been killed, among the 5 Primal Core practitioners, the leader of the late Primal Core practitioners muttered, We have to act quickly. If we give him more time, the things I brought might not be of any use to him. Cough, cough. After killing Zhang Quan, Ningyu coughed twice and slowly walked toward the Red Devil. Big brother, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity if you don't act now. Ningyu's actions caused the mid-primal core stage ancient martial art practitioner to be slightly taken aback, and he hurriedly said, Shut up, I know what I'm doing. The late primal core stage ancient martial art practitioner said coldly, We cannot fight in Ivory City. Sigh. Hearing this, the intermediate primal core stage warrior sighed and turned his head away. In his opinion, this was a rare opportunity. If he missed this opportunity, he might not get another one. Ningyu had just fought a great battle, and his strength was definitely not at its peak. There couldn't be a better time to make a move. He didn't fall for it. Ningyu's brows furrowed slightly, feeling somewhat incredulous. The reason he had pretended to cough was to force the 5 primal core stage ancient martial art practitioners to make a move and give themselves away. Unexpectedly, the 5 primal core stage ancient martial art practitioners were very calm and did not make a move. Since that was the case, Ningyu did not expose them for the time being. Instead, he came to the Red Devil's side and asked, Red Devil, how are you? Are you all right? Shaking his head, the Red Devil said, I'm fine, I won't die yet. If you die, I'll immediately head to the capital and trample the Zhang family to the ground. Ningyu said coldly, Let's not talk about this first. In your opinion, should we? As he spoke, the Red Devil glanced at the 5 primal core stage ancient martial art practitioners and told Ningyu what he had heard from the 5 primal core stage ancient martial art practitioners. After a moment's thought, Ningyu said, There are still 15 evil blood guards outside. Now is not the time to act. Just 15 evil blood guards, leave them to me. The Red Devil said proudly. Are you sure you're a match for them? Ningyu asked hesitantly. The evil blood guards were only at the early primal core stage. With the Red Devil's strength, if he was at his peak, it would not be difficult to kill them. More importantly, the Red Devil had expended a lot of energy and was not at his peak. You don't have to worry about that. Just give me the Red Devil's sword to use. I promise to finish off all the evil blood guards within 20 minutes. The Red Devil said, Furthermore, if I were to act against the evil blood guards, Ho Qingchun and Sun Xing would definitely help. Be careful. I'll give you the Red Devil sword and 3 million premium origin crystals for you to use. Ningyu threw the Red Devil sword to the Red Devil. Following that, he took out a storage bag and handed it to the Red Devil. Wait here first, I'll be right back. After receiving the Red Devil sword and the storage bag, the Red Devil looked at the 5 primal core stage ancient martial art practitioners and said to Ningyu, If they dare to act against you, I'll rush back immediately. Whoosh! With that, the Red Devil rose from the ground and rushed out of the Zhang family in the blink of an eye. After the Red Devil disappeared, there were only 6 people left in the area. 5 primal core, stage, ancient martial art practitioners, and 1 Ningyu. What are your names? After sorting out his thoughts, Ningyu came before a late primal core stage, ancient martial art practitioner and said, "You should know my name, Ningyu from Danwu College. Outsiders call us the Dangshan 5 Tigers." Before the late primal core stage, ancient martial art practitioner could speak, one of the early primal core stage, ancient martial art practitioners said, "My eldest brother is the Golden Tiger, second brother is the Silver Tiger, third brother is the Bronze Tiger, fourth brother is the Iron Tiger, and as for me, the Leather Tiger, gold, silver, bronze, and iron skin." Hearing the names of the 5 ancient martial art practitioners, Ningyu was speechless. There were people with such names. The world was really big and full of strange things. "That Golden Tiger, can I ask you a question?" Ningyu asked hesitantly. "Ask away. As long as I know, I will tell you," Golden Tiger said. "How strong are you?" Ningyu asked. "Strength." Frowning slightly, Golden Tiger said, "If the 5 of us work together, we should be able to go up against a peak primal core stage ancient martial art practitioner." Golden Tiger did not know what Ningyu was asking, so he answered very formally. "Oh, if you can go up against a peak primal core stage ancient martial art practitioner, why didn't you help when the Red Devil was surrounded by the Zhang family?" Ningyu asked casually. This Golden Tiger was a little embarrassed. He looked around and said, "The capital Zhang family is very powerful. We did not want to offend them." "Haha, you did not want to offend the capital Zhang family, so you let my brother fight for you?" Ningyu laughed coldly. "If not for my brother, the Red Devil, you would have been blown to smithereens by now. Oomph. We were blasted to the point where not even dregs were left. Just 1 peak primal core stage ancient martial art practitioner from the Zhang family, and the remaining 10 evil blood guards." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.